A young man at home is troubled. He wonders why it ended like that. Lying on the bed, he muttered something. Ultimately, he couldn't say he was an exceptional person, but he still took his life seriously. He got a steady job, married, and had a child. He even managed to get himself a house. He is now deep in debt and must spend all his time working part-time jobs. At a meeting with his daughter's mother, he begs to see their daughter one more time, but she says the child has finally begun to move on, and he apologizes. He was fired from his job for gossiping and embezzling, and saying it wasn't like that did not help. At another point, a debt collector beat him, but the MC says he took no money. Unsure what is happening, the boy wonders whether he is imagining it. He has no idea what he did wrong or when things began to fall apart. In the dark of his home, someone suddenly greets him. A strange figure in a black top hat tells him it's a very beautiful night. The MC looks at him, startled and confused, and asks if someone has come to take him. A dog approaches him, and the boy thinks about the rumor that a beloved pet appears to you at the time of your death. The man in the top hat smiles. He says he's come to take the young man, but the company isn't what he expected. His mission is to send the MC to another world. The boy must call him the guide. The MC is confused about the idea, and the guide snaps his fingers. He suddenly has a strange vision. At dinner, a man tells his ex-wife she was very clever to put both his debt and child support on her ex-husband. Ultimately, the child isn't even his, but the main character's ex-wife says it's fine, and because the girl is legally his daughter, he has to pay child support. In the end, she didn't want a child with her ex-husband and married him as a favor. At the table, the young man tells her that women are scary, and she replies that he is the one who made her that way. The MC grows angry, and the guide tells him to calm down because he just wants the young man to see the truth and realize this is not an illusion, but something that happens while they talk. He admits there were definitely some red flags, but he figured he was just overthinking. The guide describes him as a virtuous man who took life very seriously. He worked, cleared his debts, and cared for his daughter. All of it was lies told to him. The guide asks whether it should be allowed and opens his briefcase. Reaching inside, he pulls out what look like catalogs and says this is the gift he brought for the MC. Because the man has suffered so much, he deserves a life of happiness. The guide asks if he would consider that. The main character reflects on another world and realizes he just wanted his ex-wife back. Then he asks the guide if this could be about embezzlement, and the man in the top hat says his boss framed him to cover up the boss's crimes. Seeing the vision again, he understands what's happening. In the end, he was a foolish man who spent his life working hard and sacrificed his health, and now he sits withering away while others enjoy a fancy dinner. Tears in his eyes, the MC says he wants revenge and cannot forgive them. The man in the top hat is pleased about that. Then he delivers bad news. His life is ending, and he can only attain a better afterlife if he gives up revenge. The MC doesn't care how miserable he'll be as long as those who wronged him end up the same, and he's willing to do anything to make that happen. The guide shakes his head, hands over the papers, and says the MC's only option is the world where he will be reincarnated. At least he guarantees the man's next life will be a lot of fun. The man in the top hat smiles as the MC picks where to go. The guide says he recommends that world because it blends fantasy and science and even has intergalactic nations, and human life there develops in many ways that add more fun, but the MC wonders why he would want to go to another world, since in the end, he won't even be able to achieve his revenge. If that was having done everything to become a better person, he may be more selfish in his next life. Since good people often get nothing back for their kindness, he should enjoy what he wants in his own way. In that world, those with powers are the nobles, and despite society's advancement, feudalism has returned strongly, but the guide places the main character in a noble family so he lacks nothing. The MC decides living a good life is for fools, and as a noble, can do whatever he wants. Hurt others and commit cruel acts. The guide asks whether the young man is ready, and says he hopes the young man will have a good life. Now he can become a lord of evil. When the young man faints, the man in the top hat laughs, calls him a fool for thinking he is the only miserable person on earth, and says many people suffer worse. Ultimately, the young man's ex-wife proved very helpful. Now that his show is over, it is time to close the curtain. First, the guide himself placed the young man in that M. Curious, he wanted to see how a good person with a happy life could end up so badly, and he liked it so much he already wants a sequel. Now he must hurry before the main course arrives. The guide begins manipulating the dinner scene, thinking it has been entertaining, but that it is time to end everything. and wanting to see how far the MC's ex-wife can go. The young man says they should stop playing house. The MC's ex dismisses it as a joke and warns that if the man betrays her, it will end very badly for him too. The young man reminds the girl that the lawyer who handled her divorce was his and that he also helped her ex-husband's boss get fired. The girl slams the table and asks whether he plans to abandon his daughter. The young man says the daughter legally belongs to her ex-husband, and because she receives alimony, she can take care of it herself. Tears in her eyes, the girl says he told her he loved her. Walking away, he says he once loved her, but he's lost interest and they need to move on. The young man tells her not to touch him, and the girl begs him to listen, crying that she would do anything for him and that she does not want him to abandon her. He says she could not have really thought he'd marry the woman who cheated on her husband and that her ex was probably blind. The guide applauds happily and wonders how the girl will react then. The girl asks if the young man has forgotten that she cheated on her husband for him, but he says she was the one who left him and enjoyed it and should not act like a victim because she caused the situation, and she grows nervous and bites her finger. Amazed, the man in the top hat says she is thinking about her ex-husband and that women are very strange. The man who once loved her is gone, and his last request was for someone to take revenge on her. She will try to find her ex-husband or a new husband, but it will never work. Her future will never be happy. Now the guide must help her. A young man's soul is sent to a world where people's souls are consumed as if they mean nothing, and as the man in the top hat points out, by the time the MC realizes this is wrong, it will already be too late to regret. This will become his nourishment and sustain him. He must choose to become the villain who spreads misery, or to become miserable and hate the guide. The man says it's time to leave, but he will return after guiding the MC's soul. You only see the fools who jump into the reincarnation world. A little small talk and he can convince anyone. Now he must think of a new way to take advantage of it. Something brilliant appears in the main character's room. A spirit-like figure floats above the bed as the guide debates giving the boy a good life only to ruin it, and if the main character is still grateful after all that, it would be strange. The man in the top hat decides to simply watch the boy and act on impulse, but in the end he will see to it that the boy is publicly executed or tortured and can hardly wait to see his face there, and the boy's next life will be far longer than his life on Earth, with the guide making sure it is filled with suffering. A small spiritual creature follows the man. The man in the top hat tells the MC to make sure he suffers as much as possible so he can enjoy himself. In the other world, inside a noble's chamber. Looking in the mirror, the boy thinks the guide wasn't lying. He clearly gained a second life, and in it he is called Liam Sarah Banfield. Liam prays to his hand, sees a toy car stop, and realizes he was in the middle of a game. The intergalactic empire is called the Alvarite dynasty, and he has appeared as the heir of the family that governs the planet and will rule it as monarch. Liam considers what a lord of evil should do. He can do whatever he wants, which makes things more fun. A letter arrives for him, carrying a message from his god. An agent close to the gun will reportedly support him. Liam's parents appear to be Cliff Banfield and Darcy, and one of them calls for the boy. They congratulate him on his 5th birthday and give him something. Liam watches and feels very confused. All the Banfield family assets, including lands and other possessions, will be granted to Liam. The MC asks what that means, and his father says it is the gift he is giving him. The boy wonders whether that is true and whether the guide meant that when he spoke of support. His mother hurries over and says she has a gift for him as well. She will buy a custom robot for him that he can modify as he wants. Liam asks what exactly he can do, and his mother says the maid can be customized however he prefers. He uses the system Windows to choose the parts of the woman he likes. She encourages him to create the ideal employee, even allowing him to select the girl's internal parts, and since his parents are paying, he chooses the most expensive options. At last, his maid is nearly ready. Liam's final decision is to let her have feelings. Once it's settled, his father says the boy has good taste. His mother agrees, saying that children are often very creative. That she is probably the trusted agent the guide was going to send. At first he moves his parents away and leaves the boy with an ideal girl, a robot maid who will never betray him. In the end, the maid proves very beautiful, and the parents feel they can leave the boy in her care without concern. Now they have nothing to worry about, Liam asks. If his parents are going somewhere, the man confirms they are moving to the main imperial planet because they bought a mansion in the capital. In short, the boy must sign the papers and protect the family's lands as a true lord. Liam feels confused about signing, and his father points out exactly where to sign. The main character reflects on how his parents simply left everything to him and walked away, but believes everything is fine. After all, he is more than a helpless child because he is the reincarnation of a middle-aged man. Feeling deeply sorry for his parents, he will at least send them some money to live on. At that moment, Liam stole everything from his unaware parents. Liam carefully signs the paperwork. From then on, he can make all kinds of horrendous requests. Once artificial intelligence ruled the world. Humans soon imposed strict rules and built an empire, creating problems for people who form bonds with artificial intelligence. Gradually, using artificial intelligence for small tasks became common. When Liam's father asked his wife how she could give him a servant, people will probably gossip behind their backs, but Darcy Banfield says she does not care. She never had any affection for the boy from the start and is far more concerned with the Empire's complaints. Cliff Banfield says they've been through this before. Ultimately, anyone in their position would do the same, leaving everything to the children and fleeing to the capital. On the planet, Liam rests, knowing he now controls everything the Banfield family owns. Now he is the man who controls that whole world, not just a powerful figure but its king, and the boy realizes that despite feeling insignificant, he will remain a king as long as he keeps his land. A servant enters the hall and calls for Lord Liam, announcing that the robot servant has just arrived. Liam asks to have her brought to his room. A figure opens the door and steps inside. The girl says she is pleased to meet her master and introduces herself as Amagi, the faithful servant. According to the employee, Amagi will take care of the Lord from now on, but she needs maintenance once a week. Still, maintenance usually takes less than 2 hours. The boy expected the servant to be more independent. The employee says maintenance is just a body inspection and help with cleaning. If they find any damaged part, she will be returned for repairs. That's why periodic checks are important. Liam remarks that it is impressive she can be autonomous for a whole week after maintenance. Then he remembers he can do whatever he wants now that he is king. He opens his arms towards Amagi, and the girl does not react. Liam moves closer and hugs her. His employee tells him a king should not act that way. Still, the main character says he will do as he pleases and asks the employee to give him updates on the territory. The man presses something on the bracelet he is wearing. With him, several system windows appear, showing data about the location. Liam realizes he doesn't understand any of it and knows he's in trouble. In his previous life, he was just a man with a normal salary. Clearly, he doesn't know how to govern a planet. Despite that, he aims to become an evil lord. Amagi offers to handle the administration if he wants help. The boy asks if she can really do it and says he knows nothing. After talking about it, Amagi suggests placing the Lord in the education capsule and overseeing the territory while the Lord is inside. The MC says he sees no problem with that. Still, his employee says allowing an AI to govern is a grave offense against the Empire, so a magi should support only Liam. The servant says there is no such rule in the Empire, only a warning not to trust or obey an AI. She can make that simple suggestion to her master, who still doesn't know how to govern his territory, but Liam must make the final decision. In that reality, people use an education capsule, a convenient technology that installs knowledge directly into users' brains and also evolves their bodies. Installing everything his brain needs would take about 6 months, during which he would have to be in hibernation. Liam calls Brian, his employee, and asks him to prepare the education capsule. He tells Amagi he will leave the territory in her care while he is away. Amagi agrees. Brian complains that Liam should not do that, and the boy questions whether the man is not afraid of him governing without knowing anything about. We have no choice but to do it. Brian says he understands, but this will later turn into a scandal. The boy says it will only last a short time and tells Brian to prepare everything. Brian must figure out how to use taxes to oppress the citizens. Moreover, that body is very. This week he should move slowly. In a bar, a young man asked the bartender whether he had heard that the new lord is just a child, and how a child could possibly fill the role. Anything when Cliff Banfield came to power at that time. Back then, he used transfers as a pretext to collect large amounts of tax from the population. The customer slams his beer glass on the counter and asks whether the nobles see them as nothing more than a way to make a living. The barista asks if he still doubts that, but they cannot confront the new lord. In the end, they have no hope of any help, not even divine help. After 2 years, Brian notices that Liam has been taking care of the territory the whole time. The previous lord had an odd taste. Brian looked at the painting and saw that Lord Alistair, Liam's great-great-grandfather, was a kind ruler and that serving him was an honor. Everything spiraled out of control when the new generation took power. Liam's grandparents could not keep up their lifestyle, so they offloaded everything onto Cliff Banfield and went to the capital. Now Lord Cliff Banfield has done the same to his son. The butler knocks, tells Liam he's there, and Liam tells the man to come in. Brian asks how he can help the boy, and Liam asks why he is trapped in that place. Brian: since only a few days have passed since the boy emerged from the education capsule, he must remain in the mansion for a while, and the MC says he did not know this until he tried to leave. The inside of that mansion is definitely horrendous. Brian thinks the original word describes it better, but Liam thinks that's a poor choice. The boy says whoever built it must have been crazy, wonders why there are so many strange things, and feels embarrassed just living there. Brian says he is very grateful the Lord has a normal sense of things, and the MC says he wants to redo the whole mansion, so they must build another one he likes. Brian asks what they will do with the people who work in the mansion and live in the village, and the boy says they are all useless and should be fired, and the maid agrees to demolish the mansion because it will lower operating costs. Building a new mansion will take a long time, either way, since the boy doesn't like the mansion, so she can prepare a suitable place for him to stay in the meantime. He realizes that because he wants a perfect mansion, it may take some time to get everything ready. He then asks if they have enough money to build a new mansion, and the girl says they will probably have to reorganize their funds. At that moment, the fleet has many warriors. Amagi notes that only 20% are active, and the rest are unnecessary, so they should cut the total from 30,000 to 3,000. Ryan grows agitated and asks them to wait a moment, saying it's a general rule that a continent must have at least 10,000 ships in its fleet. The MC notes that only 20% is in use. Scientists say that's not the issue, but reducing the fleet will force them to take risks. The other nobles aren't the only problem, there are pirates as well. Liam grows reflective. Amagi calls him and says pirates rarely attack in large numbers, so 1,000 should be enough. Still, the ships are rusty, and Amagi thinks this is a bigger problem than idle combat teams. They need to recruit more qualified combat personnel. Liam says they should simply dismiss these employees. The MC notes there is no need for useless subordinates. Amagi says she will carry out the reorganization and expects they will have enough funds afterward. The boy points out that using 20,000 unused spaceships as decoration is foolish. Brian says Liam relies too much on his AI and should not use it so much because it will draw the other noble house's attention to the Banfield family. The boy says Brian talks like the Banfield name isn't already looked down on and tells him not to speak unless he has a good suggestion. If the small fleet causes problems, the boy won't underestimate the troops and believes they can increase their numbers over time. Brian says he is seriously considering that. Liam says he does not want to show off and only needs the essentials, so he asks Amagi to reorganize everything so his fleet will serve him well. Liam then asks Brian whether Liam can reduce the number from 30,000 to 3,000 for a while. The employee bows his head and says he has no objections. The boy's determination, despite his youth, reminds him of Lord Alistair. With nothing left in his way, Liam asks Amagi for a hug. Brian feels uncomfortable being there at that moment, somewhat. Later, Liam grows outraged as he learns more about that territory and the situation gets worse. This world is so broken, there is nothing left for him to explore. It was meant to be an advanced world of magic and science. Things are much worse than on Earth. In his territory, people still live like it's the Middle Ages, taxes are very poor, and his attempt to oppress no longer works. Liam asks why they have not returned the territory, and Amagi says that, though it will be slow, the territory will come back on its own. The nobles see it as easier to leave the people to fend for themselves, and they believe the people would need far more time and effort to manage the administration if they wanted freedom. It seems Liam doesn't know what to do. His parents gave him that place because they no longer wanted him, and the MC suggests he was deceived by the guide. Amagi says the Banfield territory is in terrible shape, but believes they can turn it around if taxes are used wisely, bringing things back on track in 10 to 20 years. Liam thinks about that. In that world, the people live long lives. Official adulthood begins at 50, and he has about 30 years left to reach it. The average life expectancy is 400 years. Living past 600 is still normal. Liam seems interested in that idea, and Amagi confirms that in 20 years things will likely be back on track. The young man pauses, then tells Amagi to do whatever is needed to ensure the growth of the young man says he also wants more power. The maid says he must expand the fleet to gain more power. The boy explains he wants personal power. Amagi asks whether he means physical strength. The boy confirms he wants martial arts or anything that makes him stronger. Haunted by past violence, his goal is more than just getting taller, and to stand up to people he must become stronger. Amagi thinks Liam doesn't need that because he can manage the place as he is, but Liam disagrees and tells her to find the best mentor she can for him, no matter how much it costs. He is determined never to let anyone take anything from him again. Now he intends to take from others, and he needs more power to do that. At the same time, Liam's ex-wife from his past life walks down the street with her daughter, and the Guardian notes in the comments that she looks quite worn out. Her hair looks messy, and her clothes are badly wrinkled. Wearing a top hat, the man causes chaos wherever he goes in the world. He hums briefly, then speaks. He shouldn't stall like that and should check on Liam. Opening a new portal, he watches the young man's life. Apparently he uses a virtual maid because he does not trust a real person. Meanwhile, he still does not understand what a noble should. This makes the situation more interesting. The man is about to play with Liam a little when something catches his attention. He sees Liam wants more power to prevent anyone from taking what he has and thinks the boy is very foolish. The Guardian now says everything is fine, providing the care Liam wants is his duty. So he'll send someone with exceptional talent. The man wearing a top hat hopes the MC will like a gift. As he faces his own death, the Guardian will likely appear to him. Yasashi is at the Banfield space base of Man Parks. He notes the planet is very remote and no one would go there even for business. Initially he thought accepting the instructor position would be a good idea. Now it seems foolish that his client is a child, and Yasashi wonders if the man has problems because the man feels sorry for the boy learning martial arts with him, who has so many. Yasashi brought a sword because Liam wanted to learn to fight with swords, which were very rare in that era. It's time to go teach that little boy and earn some money. Yasashi meets Liam and Amagi. He calls to the boy, who replies quickly. Yasashi tells him not to be nervous. First, the teacher demonstrates the sword style and shows the form. Yasashi warns the technique behind his style is lethal, and he cannot show it to others without extreme caution. Because Liam asked to see his skills, he will make an exception. Anyway, only Liam should see it, so Amagi has to leave. The maid says she cannot leave because she must protect her master. Liam calls her rude, and she apologizes, insisting that despite everything his well-being is her priority. Yasashi says he cannot accept the job if that's the case. Liam notices the man stays calm even in front of a lord, so he is probably very good at his work. Liam is set on learning from Yasashi. The young man orders Amagi to leave, and the maid says she understands and that he should call if he needs her. She then hands him something that looks like a remote control. Amagi says many people are trying to pretend to be sort. Using the device, he can check whether the man is a fraud. Liam asks if that will be enough to make him sure, and the maid confirms. The woman says goodbye and takes her leave. Lemon warns Liam that the device will detect any trick, and he must not let his guard down. Later, sitting with a log in his lap, Liam asks Yasashi if he will cut it. The teacher confirms with a yes and tells Liam to place the logs wherever he wants, anywhere his blade cannot reach. Next, the MC arranges the logs around the man. Yasashi gets the boy's attention. He's about to teach the boy an important technique that seems like magic, and once he learns it, he won't need anything else. That technique is something he rarely shows others. Liam insisted on seeing his skills, so Yasashi slid his sword partway out of its sheath and pushed it back in at high speed. The speed slows and Liam is confused and wonders what happened. Looking around, he is stunned by what he sees. All the wooden logs were cut in seconds. That's the ultimatum technique. Yasashi smiles at Liam. The little boy steps forward and asks when the man cut all that. The teacher says once the boy starts learning the style, he will soon find the answer to his question. Next, he asks Liam a very important question. He asks if the MC truly wants to learn that style, and the boy answers yes. Amazed, he picks up one of the broken logs, and Yasashi notes that Liam is easy to fool. Apparently, he is a bit slow to catch on and wants to learn from a swordsman like him, but his real aim is just to squeeze as much money out of him as possible. Yasashi is surprised he never got caught, since he used to be a street hustler and the logs had already been cut. His plan was to get caught and lie that he used magic. The item Amagi gave Liam is probably broken. The trick detector can spot advanced tricks but not something that simple. Yasashi. He tells them to start with the basics, and Liam agrees. 3 years. The boy starts to make progress with the sword. Yasashi watches closely and notes how quickly children learn. Now Yasushi has shown the boy several simple moves and is wondering what to teach next, so he thinks it's time to watch some online tutorials, and amused, he decides this should be his proverb. He's surprised because he's heard so much about the Banfield house, yet the kid lives quite modestly. Yasushi expected Liam to give up, but Liam is working hard and respects the teacher. Either way, a noble has no reason to become stronger because they can ask their subordinates to protect them. After all, it's a very simple job. He just has to sit and watch, but he must be careful because the maid is watching him. Yasushi can't understand why Magi is beside that boy. Those nobles must be desperate to put a child who knows nothing in charge of the whole response. They dumped everything on Liam because of his disabilities, and that makes him feel guilty. In the end, Yasushi is just taking advantage of the boy. Liam is serious and likely hates corruption, so Yasushi won't do well if he gets caught. Liam's new mansion is finished, and the boy notices that it is. Much better, the mansion is simple yet spacious. He is far happier now because the old mansion was an atrocity. Magi tells the boy it is almost time to enter the capsule. The boy asks when he should do it, and she says he can do it whenever he wants, and that it will take about 6 months this time. Liam realizes it's best to start right away. The education capsule holds so much that even 10 years wouldn't be enough to learn it all. He must make the most of it before he becomes an adult. Liam tells Magi to take care of his territory, but the maid looks frightened and asks the boy to look at something specific. On reading what is writ, Liam grows alarmed and orders them to bring to him the person who submitted that document. A man covered in rings approaches and says, he's worried Liam misunderstood the numbers needed to fulfill his duty and thinks those figures are misleading the boy. Liam is studying that man closely. Magi confirms the man is committing fraud. Along with other possible crimes, his spending has held back the place's growth. Many of those expenses are unnecessary. Liam studies the documents and thinks about that man's audacity to sit across from him with a smile. Reviewing the list of crimes the man committed against the state, he concludes they have a deeply corrupt individual there. Then he begins to speak with A man is determined to put an end to this. He suddenly gets Liam's attention and warns him not to trust the toy because artificial intelligence has caused the downfall of many civilizations. They are enemies of humans. He did make some mistakes, but there is no need to worry about that, and the expenses are the oil and grease that keep things running smoothly. Either way, a robot cannot understand this. Liam glares at the man and asks if he enjoyed ruining his subordinates' lives. PMC asks if he felt good about doing that after blaming his fraud crimes on them. Desperate, the man tries to explain himself. Liam refuses to listen and asks whether making others pay for his crimes was fun, and the man, furious, shouts that Liam should be grateful because he only has that luxurious life thanks to him. Thrown to the ground, the man shouts that without his support Liam could not live a comfortable life. Already frustrated, the boy strikes him with his sword. Seeing that man reminds him of his former boss. The MC orders him to shut his mouth, and the man falls to the ground lifeless. Liam is soaked in a red liquid as a muggy approaches. She gives the boy a foam bath to clean him. She then asks if he is okay. The MC regains consciousness after being fully cleaned and turns to the man on the ground. Liam, furious with the man, calls him a bastard and says he will handle everything. Among them, Amagi takes the boy's hand, holding the shit. She holds the sword, then asks him to release the weapon for a moment. He pulls his hand back, uneasy about the contact. Amagi steps closer and asks Liam to let her. He asks the maid for help, feeling comfortable with her he can see. Seeds, he still has not seen many corruption cases, and if they intend to kill everyone, it will be a major problem, because the harm caused by those corrupt people has shaped their course for a long time. Time is short, she can fill their roles, but that would cause problems. Liam asks what they can do next. Amagi says they could hire a surveillance AI. It's not advanced, but it's very good at keeping watch. Liam asks how much she. Amagi says they need at least 30, with some assigned to the mansion and others sent throughout the territory. Exhausted, the MC tells her to do what she wants. The maid asks if he's sure and warns that once they add artificial intelligences, rumors will likely spread. The boy says he does not care, and in that moment he trusts her more than anyone else. Amagi gently caresses the boy and says she will make sure things happen as soon as possible. Liam says he doesn't need anyone who will oppose him. Rumors spread in the tavern at night. People say the Lord has dealt with a corrupt official, but some don't believe it because he is just a CH. Still, the information came from inside the mansion. The young man at the bar is startled when he sees the news. Compulsory education will increase from 3 to 6 years, and more schools will be built as officials rush to make this happen. Construction workers said they'll be busy for a while. He says he'd like that kind of luck too. After all, their lord seems very generous despite being only 10, something they could not have predicted 5 years ago. I hope the lord continues to grow in that way. Brian stands in front of several people. At last, they have competent members who will take their jobs seriously. Brian says they might be nervous, but Liam usually treats people who take the job seriously very well. A girl asks to speak and wants to know whether Liam needs to work the night shift. Brian says the boy is still very young, so she does not need to worry, and Amagi handles most of his needs. An employee asks if he always keeps that toy by his side. Angered by this, Brian says he will pretend he didn't hear anything this time, but there won't be another chance. Bowing, the employee apologizes, while Brian thinks Amagi is clearly talented, but this will damage his master's reputation. The boy trusts her so much they cannot be separated. His bond with Amagi is like a child's bond with their mother. Master Cliff Banfield and Darcy Banfield should have taken better care of the boy. Brian says Amagi means a lot to Liam, and no one should disrespect her. If they speak ill of her and he finds out, no one will be able to. Now we can defend them. At least things are going much better with Master Liam. The Banfield house is returning to its former glory. It has been 20 years. Liam begins to reproduce a small part of the attack his master taught him, Yasushi Shu. Proud though he is, Liam admits it was not good enough. Now at 30, he has cut only 2 of the 3 trunks, and even after 20 years, he still cannot reproduce a cheap image. Liam apologizes to Yasushi, saying his skills are far behind the teacher's. It says the way of the sword is long and difficult. There is no reward at the end. Liam has grown a lot over the last 20 years. Hearing that, the MC becomes excited. He trained his body a lot and got stronger, but he still cannot do what he wanted it. Now he must go after the final component his master mentioned. The secret technique to carry out that attack is to use Amagi. Applying another layer to the blade increases the sword's range. Liam asks if this is correct. His teacher says Liam is closer than ever, but one final piece is still missing. This is study material because to use Amagi he must study a lot. Liam is confused, and since Amagi cannot protect against spaceship fire, those skills seem unimportant. For example, it is more practical to carry a weapon than to learn to cast magic by hand. Not all magi are useless. A healing magi can assist and be quite effective, and magi are also useful for controlling humanoids. Even so, learning the basics is not enough. Liam is determined to get better in his magic lessons. Yasushi says the boy should take a break and focus on what matters and thinks 10 years might be enough to start. Until then, Liam needs to practice the bass. Thinking he had made good progress, the boy becomes thoughtful. The teacher looks at him and Liam says he understands. Asks how things are going in the boy's territory. Being a good lord means you cannot spend all your time training in martial arts. The boys. He reports that everything is going well and that he has started new projects. Liam is surprised by how quickly that world advances. Scrapers can be built in just a few days, and all of this remains a mystery. For him, there is no reason to avoid raising taxes, because he cannot understand why his parents and grandparents did not. Yasushi approves and asks Liam to show what he can do with the basics. This time he says they will no longer train simply, and will put a blindfold and some weights on the boy. That will make Liam's new lessons evolve even faster. The MC becomes excited because they resemble things he read in manga when he was younger. Meanwhile, Yasushi panics, wondering who that boy is and how he managed to recreate his fake trick with a real sword he only taught. Despite learning only the basics, Liam has grown a lot, and he even eliminated the corrupt, so if people find out Yasushi is lying, it will be the end for him. He needs to start saving as much as he can so that if everything goes wrong, he won't have foolishly wasted what he had. A few years later, Liam is happy because he has begun discovering how to use his other senses. He wonders if his master meant that when he warned him not to trust his eyes. Yasushi notes the boy learned it very quickly. Excited, the MC shows off his skills and how easily he can do things, catching Yasushi's attention and impressing him. To protect himself, he tells the boy not to get carried away, and that, even though the boy has improved his other skills and senses, he still hasn't done anything extraordinary. Liam falls silent with them for a moment, then brightens and says there is so much more he can do blindfolded. Sushi says the sword is also too weak for him, and he needs a new one. The boy gets excited. Now Liam can clearly see things, even with his eyes closed. At the Banfield house storage, Yasushi finds the man furious at how strong Liam has become. Unsure what to do, he hadn't thought the boy would adapt so. He quickly decides to make an extremely heavy sword to force the boy to use it and keep him busy for a while. Then an idea comes to him. Seeing a huge creature, he thinks this is even better for him. Later, a muggy grows curious about what Yasushi wants to do. The man asks whether she can make that machine usable for training Liam. The maid notes the model is very old and suggests using a more modern one, but Yasushi says they can't. The newest robot knights are easy to pilot, so the boy would learn quickly, and Yasushi would not have enough time. Meanwhile, the man says that using the older model will be better for Liam. Amagi says the model is no longer being manufactured and will take time to fix. That model is only 24 meters, while the 80 and 40-meter versions are more common. Yasushi knows this and says old models are very well built, so restoring one will be much more efficient than fixing a new one. Maggie says it's not that simple, and a newer model would be much cheaper. The professor insists the older one is much better and says she only needs to modify it to make a personal machine for Liam without spending much. Amagi still insists there is no reason to use it, since it is simpler and much cheaper to make a new model for her master. Still, Yasushi complains to Amagi, saying adjusting that unit would be much better for Liam must learn to handle it manually rather than rely on advanced technology like others, and to operate machines that require real skill. Amagi still doesn't see the point when the new weapons work so well, but the man says Liam needs to learn it, and since he insists the maid will arrange it as soon as possible. The man thanks her and tells her to spend whatever money is needed, since it is for Lord L's good. Amagi doubts that Liam is a true swordsman. Liam has learned some things and grown stronger, but Yasushi still seems unimpressive. Yasushi's story is simple, and Amagi fears he is being manipulated by someone else. Wanting to follow his orders, she faces a problem. The machine was built by the Imperial factory. She's not sure they have enough funds for all of it. Even so, she needs to proceed. Amagi is determined to do whatever it takes to restore that thing, but it must protect Liam. Amagi leaves the family warehouse and is struck by the sight of Liam blindfolded before her, as the boy says the footsteps belong to the maid. Amagi notes that it is dangerous for the boy to walk like that, and the boy replies that it is part of his training. He says he heard her planning a robot knight for him, and Amagi says Yasushi asked her to prepare an old model, even though newer ones are likely more efficient. Liam pauses to reflect, then says his master must have his reasons. He will walk around the mansion blindfolded. Amagi watches him, worried. At the city bar, patrons raise their glasses and smile. A boy enters and says business seems to be doing very well. Our tender says he finally managed to hire some people and asks how the boy's new job is going. The boy says things are going well and he's been very busy. Much has changed since the new lord arrived, and everything seemed better in his grandfather's time. The boy asked the bartender how long ago it had been, and the bartender said it was about 500 years. In the past, things seemed more advanced, and the lord has grown increasingly silent. Nobody has heard from him in 20 years. People only know of his love for artificial intelligence, which is odd for a lord. He has made everything work much better. Given how well things are going, they could not be happier. Liam is impressed by the gigantic machine. Even though it's an older model, it seems well prepared. The engineer hired at the factory said it was actually quite simple. She never thought she'd have to maintain such an old unit, and Liam asks if she's familiar with that model. According to Nia's Carlin, their factory developed that model, and all the veterans felt nostalgic while working on it. She then asks whether Liam is sure about what he wants, since that unit is much harder to control with all its assistance functions active. Removed, the boy wonders whether it's like the difference between an automatic and a manual car. Yasushi says he's sure Liam will be. Confident they can handle it, he tells them to sort out what is missing, and Nia's Carlin steps back smiling. She says a meeting is unnecessary because everything is covered in the manual, and if she needs to explain anything, she should speak directly to Lord L. What he sees impresses the boy. He doubts the man is serious about wanting to talk to Nia's Carlin about the model. Liam is convinced, however, that his master is a virtuous person. They step into the machine to learn more about it. Inside, there is a distinct space. They use spatial magic to enlarge the cockpit interior and provided the pilot with a very comfortable seat. Liam notes the chair is very soft and seems to cradle his body, grips the controls, and thinks this is. That's pretty cool. He also likes the look of that giant. Nia's Carlin says boys usually prefer the black units, but it's rare to see someone spend so much money to repair just one. Liam notes he's heard some people care deeply about that. Nobles see robot knights as a symbol of military power. Many use these machines only to appear stronger. River, robot knights are a symbol of prestige for the nobility and costly, so if you want to buy one you should choose a good model. At least that's what his master said, and Nias Carlin observes most of them were mass-produced. Few nobles care more about a machine's inner workings than its outward appearance, so Liam's request was interesting. The girl asks him to try the robot. The boy senses something strange and is instantly chosen as the machine's pilot. The robot will obey only him. It is a personal unit. Liam realizes he really likes the idea. The moment he tries to move the machine, the giant metal creature falls to the ground. Motionless, the robot lies there while Liam looks confused. Nias Carlin stays calm and explains what is happening. That happened because the unit does not have self-balancing, which is one of its missing functions. Although it is harder to control, once he learns to do so, he will be able to move the robot as if it were his body. The MC notes that if he can control that machine, he will be halfway to becoming a top pilot. Nias Carlin says that if he succeeds, he will already be a great pilot. Failing to control the robot costs the pilot a major loss. Controlling the unit makes it as strong as any other. Ultimately, the pilot's skill matters most. Nias Carlin learned magical control during his training, so he can use a Magi to send his imagination to the machine. Using this method, he slowly lifts the robot. Carlin notes the boy is doing very well for his first time. Liam says he learned a lot in the simulator, but the engineer says that's not what she's referring to. That unit is harder to control than a regular one, so if he handles it that well from the start, he must have some talent. The MC objects that she is flattering him, but the girl denies it. Controlling the machine requires a very strong imagination, and the boy still has to be careful. Nias Carlin tells him to move the controls slowly and to imagine the machine as his own to make it easier to control. She reassures him that the machine is huge and very strong. The robot knight is not a conventional unit, so it is much harder to control. It moves much more like a slow horse, while the robot knight stands still. Nias Carlin asks what happened, then says the boy should start walking. The machine performs the movement the boy imagined. Nias Carlin finds that impressive. Liam is embarrassed and says he didn't mean to, so it's time to take a break. Below, Brian watches everything. Liam appears to be piloting Lord Alistair's unit. Tears stream down Brian's face because it moves him. The robot's odd movement leaves him confused. He tries to reach Liam but can't. Meanwhile, Jesus. Someone is outraged that the boy went in there alone with Nias Carlin. Yasushi then speaks into Brian's communicator and tells Liam to get out of there. The man yells at the boy and calls him a brat. Amagi hears it and is outraged. Yasushi apologizes, saying he got carried away, and Amagi questions whether he is truly a swordsman and master of martial arts. Nias Carlin stayed with him for 3 months, leaving only after she finished explaining maintenance and everything else the machine required, and Yasushi was angry he couldn't even get the girl's number in any case. Unwilling to forgive the boy who got involved with the girl he was interested in, he will give Liam even. Training is getting tougher. Brian goes to Liam and says the boy seems to be training too hard. Brian notices it's much tougher than before, but he's getting stronger, so it's not a problem. Considering his master's potential, the master must know what he's doing, so there's nothing to worry about. Brian agrees, looking downcast. In training, Yasushi hits the boy repeatedly with what look like rubber. He asks why Liam isn't handling it and says he won't be a top swordsman if he can. Yasushi tells him to use his spatial awareness. The main character complies. Planes say it's impossible to handle that many shots with only a wooden sword, but Yasushi insists nothing in this world is impossible and tells the boy to find his own solution, though inwardly he thinks it is clearly impossible. Unexpectedly, Liam manages to fend off the attacks. Yasushi is impressed and amazed by the boy's potential. At last, the MC understands what his master meant, creates a magical shield around himself for protection, and says it's not so difficult once you get it, because in the end, he is learning to combine sword fighting with a magi since one alone is not enough. Using his magic, Liam deflects every ball coming his way. They bounce back and some hit Yasushi as the excited MC asks if he is. Realizing he's scared, the man no longer wants to get involved with the boy. He tells Liam there is nothing left to teach him. Yasushi says Liam has not yet fully mastered the secret technique, but can do it on his own, and now he has one final mission for the boy. The boy must continue training without pause. Liam is outraged and demands that Yasushi train him more and persuade the man to offer him more. Yasushi grows nervous about the offer of a center just for him. Pleased to hear it, he is still in the middle of his journey, and it is too early for him to open his own martial arts school, so Liam tells him to at least train the boy and test his skills, because the boy wants to know how far his techniques can go. Yasushi says it's no problem to do that, and he already has all the wooden logs ready. Suddenly, a man in a top hat appears and wonders how Liam is. He's doing fine. His territory has apparently expanded a bit. Watching, he wonders how far Liam has gone with that fake swordsman. Using a secret technique, the boy cuts the logs in seconds while the man in the top hat watches, wondering what it is. Both Amagi and Brian are impressed, but the young man says he has not yet reached his master's level. Liam wanted to learn more, but his master disappeared. The man in the top hat asks what the boy just did and how he did it. Elsewhere, Yasushi admits to a girl that he is a much worse swordsman than his apprentice. Liam overtook him before he noticed and is now on the verge of becoming a top swordsman, while the girl beside him looks impressed. Yasushi notes that Liam even offered him a martial arts school and finds it unbelievable that the boy can cut things without drawing his sword from its sheath. The man in the top hat is livid and outraged. Liam knows he was lucky to have such a skilled swordsman as his teacher, and his territory has improved a lot because at first he feared he would get into trouble, but his guide helped him. The man in the top hat begins to lose his temper and cannot believe Liam is grateful to him. Then he must take more drastic measures. The guide follows Liam through his daily routine. He plots how to make the MC begin to hate him and want him dead. Ultimately, he failed to bring the bad news to the board. Still, only Brian and the Magi stand by him. The man assumed the boy would be irresponsible and surrounded. At ease with women and thinking clearly, he then notices what is going on in Liam's head. The territory is growing prosperous, and people have more economic freedom. He thinks it will be easier to take everything from them after making them rich. Liam has no intention of extorting the poor. The MC notices the boy is like him. At first, he raises everyone's hopes, then pulls the rug out from under them. Liam is considering bringing people into his mansion, even dragging them there. The MC thinks it's a good idea, but bringing people to the castle without their consent will not win their hearts, and it doesn't matter. Whatever the situation, Liam would love the most horrific scenario possible. Amagi enters the cell, asks to hire more military personnel, and spoke with the soldiers to inform them about the unused materials. They are asking to hire new people because they will lose some equipment. Liam expects the replacements will be useless and incompetent. They are Imperial soldiers, and some are graduates of the Imperial Military Academy, so they have real combat experience. Amagi says hiring these military per. Liam looks tired and says he accepts. The guide says this is a great idea and that he can use them to spread seeds for. The future will bring soldiers who refuse to tolerate a cruel Lord Rebel. This is getting a lot more fun. He has no regrets at all and may even be working too hard. In any case, nothing disgusts him more than gratitude. The guide decides to take some time away and hopes to enjoy himself on his next visit. Standing in front of the mirror, Liam can hardly believe he is 40. Amagi says engineer Nias Carlin wants to meet the boy to give him a status update. The boy wonders why an engineer would come so far just to inspect the machine, and Amagi says the inspection is probably an excuse and that the woman likely wants to sell weapons. He then asks why she went anyway, and the girl says she probably wants to take advantage of their financial stability. Although financially stable, the boy is outraged and tells her to try selling it to the Imperial armament. Amagi says he has heard of the weapons factory's reputation, that they are known for high production quality but have flawed designs and very high prices. That leaves the Empire uninterested. Another weapons factory is far better known for quality and design. With many other weapons makers across the Empire, the fierce competition makes it hard to establish oneself. Liam notes that since Nias Carlin traveled such a long distance just to meet him, he will at least welcome her. Excited, Nias Carlin approaches Liam and says they haven't seen each other in a long time. After a while, the boy had grown a lot, and she barely recognized him. Amagi notes that the girl's uniform violates the Empire's regulation. Liam wonders what brought the girl there. She says she came to check on the unit she left behind, but Liam says he's not fooled and thinks she's probably planning to sell it. Nias Carlin is pleased the boy gets straight to the point and asks whether he wants to buy battleships or weapons from the 7th factory. The boy says they are much more expensive than the ones they use now, and that you can buy 3 ships for the price of 1. This Carlin sells her product by claiming the ship from her factory is much better equipped, so it costs more. Amagi whispers to Liam that purchases from the Empire carry extra fees not included in the listed price, and Nias Carlin becomes worried on hearing this. She then guarantees the weapon's performance and says their new model easily outperforms all competitors. Liam complains and tells her to sell it to the Imperial Army. She says they failed the inspection and didn't get a commission. Liam doubts they maintain constant inspections, and Amagi says this likely comes from an error in that product. Nia's Carlin said they complained about production costs and that the ships are smaller than other models. In short, they dislike the higher cost and smaller size. Design, Liam notes that compared with other models, that shift shows no performance improvement, so spending money on it is not justified. Nia's Carlin suddenly stands up, visibly agitated. She asked the boy to reconsider, saying he can buy fewer ships and they can still get a good deal. The boy argues with Amagi, and they decide it is not worth making that deal. A woman angrily tries to sell her product, but its design is terrible and its performance is poor. Ultimately, that is a terrible product. Nia's Carlin attempts to argue that production and maintenance costs are on another level. Liam says it is not the problem, and the engineer becomes desperate and tries to seduce Liam to make him. Something happens, but the boy is traumatized by his ex-wife and reacts unexpectedly. Indignant, Nia's Carlin hears the boy say he feels nothing for her. Someone starts to cry. Liam grows tired and says he might buy 200 ships. Nia's Carlin asks him to buy 300. The MC asks Samagi if that is possible, and she says it is. In the end, acquiring those ships is not a problem. It is very exciting. Nia's Carlin thanks him and says she will take the ships there at once. The boy says he'll buy them, but the design must be changed, even if it's just covering or altering the appearance, and the interior must be modified, and Nia's Carlin asks if he does not want to appreciate the existing design. VM says that's why she doesn't pass the inspection, and that she needs to see it from her customer's perspective. The engineer objects and asks him not to speak that way because it hurts her, since all decisions on the ship were made by her superiors, and Amagi observes the girl seems good at nothing but her job. Meanwhile, at the mansion, Brian notes the recent increase in guests. Nia's Carlin is proud to have sold 300 ships, even though it required modifications to the D. Regarding the design, she knows she did her best and that the priority is selling the ship. Brian overhears the conversation, and the man says it's strange she managed to sell using only her sedu. Nia's Carlin confirms this is true. Her partner is shocked by her account. Still, the engineer confirms that it is exactly. So the man asks why she doesn't simply marry the boy, but the engineer refuses and says the man should be grateful to her. Still, he only complains. Nia's Carlin feels sad that instead of gratitude, he only speaks ill of what she did. Brian suspects that Lord Liam has fallen into a seduction trap. Liam is facing Thomas, the exclusive. The boy asked whether he had brought the requested yellow candies. Thomas opens the box in the middle of the table and asks the young man to check it for him. Himself, the main character, breaks into a wide smile. He then calls the man an excellent mercenary. Liam then wonders why Thomas showed up, since he has no reason to come just to say hello. The merchant says he would like to use part of Liam's troop to pass through third-party sectors. The boy doubts that the places Thomas wants to go are truly dangerous. The man explains the problem is not the destination, but the route has many pirates. Merchants are often attacked by them several times a day. Amagi says he can arrange 100 soldiers immediately if that is all he wants. Liam says if that's the case, he will give them, but the man must bring back rewards. Thomas says he understands the conditions. Next time he will bring more yellow candies for the Lord. Liam thinks that's good, but also wants the man to bring profits for him, and the merchant agrees. After sealing the deal, he asked Amagi to prepare the vassals right away. As the merchant leaves, someone tells him the Banfield House's territory has changed over time, and although the Lord is very young, he is doing well. Not a typical noble, he is unusual but generous. Thomas, who is with the merchant, says he cannot see why the Lord wants so much gold. Gold is not scarce in that region, and though it is a precious metal, the Lord could ask for something else. Thomas says he has asked the same question, and it's not a problem for him, yet he remains confused. Earlier he had brought jewelry, gems, and magical items for the Lord, but he looked disappointed. Only receiving gold truly satisfies him. The boy walking behind Thomas says that Liam is really hard to understand, and the merchant agrees. Either way, his behavior is quite convenient. All the fees he receives are invested back into the place. Thomas still wonders how far things will evolve there. Because of them, this time will be more dangerous than the previous ones, but this negotiation is important for the Banfield House. He clenches his fist in determination. He is driven to achieve profits this time because it is his duty as the Lord's exclusive merchant. Liam piles his gold pieces on the tape. Brian steps into the room to observe. He says he noticed the boy only asks for gold and asks Amagi what he thinks. Agreeing with Brian, the maid says it doesn't have to be gold. Liam says gold symbolizes health. This is a precious item with lasting value and striking beauty. Both Amagi and Brian were left speechless. He then asks if the boy knows that mithril and other metals are rarer and more valuable than gold. The boy says he knows that, and Brian asks why the boy is not satisfied with the other items. Liam bristles at Brian's assumption. He then asks whether the man is happy to wear mithril or other stone accessories. Amagi says mithril rings are popular with girls. The boy explains Brian uses all those metals as accessories, but only gold fits this situation. Amagi agrees the reasoning is logical. Brian agrees the boy is right. In ancient times, gold stood for prosperity and was highly valued. Liam pauses briefly, then says he plans to use gold as currency and asks Brian to handle it. Amagi asks if Liam knows Brian is only a butler, but the man replies that because the boy wants him to, he will. The boy reviews the data on his territory. While he thinks taking the bribe was a good move, the place still isn't how he wants it. Amagi points out the territory has grown a lot in a short time. Liam replies those are just numbers and says unless he feels it in practice, it is not true. The situation is nothing like he expected, and the clothes are awful, so he wants it to change right away. The boy wonders if he can invest some money in fashion experts. RMC plans to invite some models to entertain people so they can see beautiful things. Amagi says they are doing well, but a problem remains because rising rates have driven up prices. The territory's expenses have changed in the same way. Still, if this is what Liam wants, she will not refuse. When the guests arrive, Liam realizes things turned out differently than he expected, and he is not satisfied. Amagi offers him other options, but the boy still doesn't like them. The man in the top hat who came back to check on things is furious because Liam is not. Evil, all his hopes were pinned on the boy, and he is now disappointed. Supposed to be a cruel lord, he is instead acting benevolently. The guide begins to feel unwell because of the boy's gratitude. However he looks at it, the situation still does not seem to improve. At least they can destroy the whole territory Liam worked so hard to build. Nearby, some idle pirates linger, and the man in the top hat hopes to find a little entertainment in the boy's final hours. The pirate captain steps forward and watches. He never tires of watching the explosions. A subordinate asks if it's all right to leave them to their own devices now, and Goza, outraged, grabs the boy's face. Goza demands to know who authorized that kid to speak that way. Before the boy can respond, someone crushes his head with their hands. The other subordinates quickly clean up the area and take something magical out of it. He says this time everything was very easy. The pirate captain asks what happened to the girl they captured, and his crewman says it's time to get rid of her. Agrees, saying that it is nice to get a new toy now and then. That one held up well. His subordinate says it was impressive that even after everything the girl still managed to maintain herself. On the edge of sanity, they wonder what to do next and whether to take a break, but the captain heard about a child nearby. Learning about the boy from Banfield, who is being recognized as a benevolent lord, he says the boy tried everything to improve his territory. One of his employees says they heard about this lord, questions whether Banfield will be the next target, and then confirms it with a smile. Ultimately, it's much more valuable to destroy something that's on the rise. Also, it would be disappointing if they did not strike back. After being manipulated by the man in the top hat, Goza is determined to show Liam what hell looks like. Since being reincarnated into that science fiction world, Liam finds staying in the mansion all day unbearable. Amagi says that because he is the lord of that world, going outside can be problematic, but he does not want to be kept locked up all the time. The maid notes that Liam's request may be inconvenient and asks what the lord intends to accomplish. The boy says he wants to raise the rates and cause the population to suffer and afflict themselves. Amagi warns that raising the rates might not be wise and is usually done only when truly necessary, because reckless action could ruin the plan to eliminate the territory's debts. Annoyed, Liam tells Amagi he does not want to think like an adult and would rather use his authority to commit violence and take things from others, but he still needs to think sensibly. To cheer himself up, Liam suggests they look for beautiful girls around the city. The maid feels uneasy about that idea. Liam says he won't change his mind even if she is unhappy, and then the maid notices that. Entertainment throughout the city has evolved significantly, and many would be grateful to meet the master. Trying to find someone who does not want to see him, Liam asks Amagi what she thinks about him bringing people from outside the palace, and she says they would not mind either. Complaints say he wants to feel like the king of his territory. Amagi asks the boy to be a little more confident in the master, head of House Banfield and king of the entire planet. MC says his plans still aren't moving forward. Amagi points out that with so much debt they can't afford luxuries or frills. The boy says paying off the debt won't be easy. Brian suddenly enters with terrible news. Pirates have declared war on the Banfield House. A meeting is held at the Banfield House government building. The pirate captain demands that they surrender all the territory and the beautiful women there. Around the bureaucratic table, some say the best option is to give in to the pirates, while others insist they should fight the opponent. The situation is precarious because they have only 8,000 soldiers, while Goza's pirates number over 30,000. Doing what the pirates demand and not resisting does not guarantee they will leave. Soon people begin insulting one another at the table. Liam is confused and unsure what to do in that situation. The boy says it's only worth it if the reward is big, and everyone falls silent for a moment, which impresses him. A man in a top hat suddenly appears and introduces himself to Lee. Astonished to see his guide, the MC pauses and says he'll try to be brief because time travel is exhausting. Liam says he hasn't seen him in a while and asks what the pirates mean. Liam then asks if the goal was to give him a life of peace and happiness. The man in the top hat says this is his gift to the young man. The protagonist doesn't fully understand, so the guide explains that Liam is nearing adulthood in that world and must gain prestige and recognition as he grows. The territory he controls is in debt. He realizes this is why he cannot do what he wants. The guide says that this time he can solve all the problems at once. The pirates he summoned have an incalculable amount of money. By facing and defeating them, Liam will gain not only fame and glory, but also money too. A bear, the boy gets excited about that idea. The man in the top hat encourages the boy by saying the pirates are nothing special, and Liam thanks him for being very helpful. Wearing a top hat, the man quickly leaves, saying it's his job. Everything comes back to reality. Liam brings his hand down hard on the table. Announcing his first battle, he tells everyone to prepare and vows to defeat Gaz once and for all. For everyone, people there are outraged and call it foolish. Liam stays calm, declares he is in charge, and orders them to prepare for battle, so everyone can only stay quiet and obey. At that moment, they must summon all their strength. Amagi tells Brian preparations are nearly complete, and, as planned, the master will enter battle. Brian complains that this is very bad and happened just as things were starting to go well, and the maid says they have not been defeated yet, and the master probably will not lose that battle. From what she learned, the surrender is pointless and the Imperial army is being dispatched, but Brian says they will not arrive in time, and by then everything will already be lost, leaving him hopeless. He felt the Banfield house was returning to its former glory. Had Liam been born a century earlier, they could have stood up to those pirates. The ship advances through space. Liam looks determined and excited. The man in the top hat notices the boy seems to be enjoying the gift. He says he cannot help Liam, but the scene moves him, and he believes it will help the boy perform well in battle, since his army is not ordinary. He has the box stolen from the Imperial army, even if he thinks Liam is a bad person. He seems to have learned nothing from his past life and remains a fool, his life nothing more than a toy for others. Gratitude will turn to anguish and hatred, and his smile will fade. The man in the top hat is eager to see Liam's expression, then steps back and leaves. It's time for the MC to find out the truth and entertain him. The Banfield house has about 5,000 troops. Inside the ship, everything is chaotic. Liam remains calm despite this. He asks a captain when the battle will begin. The captain says it has already begun. Liam complains and asks if this is the battle, and the man says they cannot act recklessly on such. The boy asks why he cannot see the enemy, and the soldier explains that distance is relative in space. Liam says he thinks he learned that in the educational capsule and wonders if the battlefield is always like this. The man says this is not exactly calm. Overall, they are disadvantaged, and the situation is dangerous. Things turn dangerous. Liam starts thinking about what he can do when someone announces that communications are being interfered with. Interference appears to be coming from above. The attack is approaching. Their force numbers 5,000. Soldiers grow restless, and the captain beside Liam says the enemies have seized the initiative. Liam says wasting their forces like this is unwise and asks why they sent only 5,000, and the soldier suggests they may only intend to break the Banfield family's initial formation. No matter how fast they disrupt the enemy's advance, they will still take damage. The young man tells Liam those enemies are not pirates, but soldiers from the places the pirates passed through. At that moment, he realizes the enemies are actually victims of the pirates. If they can send signals, they should do so early, but if they cannot, it will not affect the communication line. The MC notes that if the communication line is disrupted, he will face serious problems. The pirate captain remains calm. Clapping, he says the Banfield family apparently destroyed the 5,000 battalions he sent. He wonders whether the boy has good subordinates. He asks that his army be informed they will receive double the reward if they capture Liam. A subordinate asks if he is sure and warns that going after that kid could make things tense, then says that once Liam is out of the way he can destroy his people. The surprise attack likely left their command in chaos, so it's the perfect moment to advance, and the pirate captain agrees. He then orders everyone to advance and show those people how pirates settle wars. Enemy forces move toward Liam's army, sinking ship after ship and leaving a trail of destruction. GOAS is celebrating. They are very happy to see the enemy ships explode. Without warning, a massive blast rips through the pirate ship, disintegrating it into splinters. In space, it works wonders if the enemies have set up space mines, and his subordinate says they seem to be doing better than they thought. Indignant, Gaz orders the pirates to advance and swiftly destroy all those rich kids. Still, the war is intensifying. Members of the Banfield House are advancing. The pirate official says the enemy army is well organized and well equipped. Go complains, telling them to advance more forcefully since they have the full army needed to defeat the enemy. Several explosions tear through space, a true massacre, and at that point it seems strange for the nobles and their private army too. The remaining forces will be defeated, the battle continues, and the pirates have advanced further. The employee tells the captain they are moving, and the battle's outcome already seems decided. Goza mocks the enemy arm's resistance. Liam's ships start trying to flee, and the boy wonders how long they will keep trying to escape. The soldier says it's the best they can do now because they must buy time until the Imperial army arrives, so the battle should be prolonged as much as possible, and Liam suddenly becomes confused. He asks what the boy means and who told them to wait for the Imperial army. Liam states it's obvious he wants to win by his own power and that the battle will be decided before the Imperial army arrives. The captain present tries to retort. He tries to explain that the enemy greatly outnumbers them and could even attack the planet. The army's job at that moment is to keep them occupied, but Liam won't listen and is determined to do this even if it costs everyone's life. Liam orders a head-on attack on the enemy With Boyd silent, the MC speaks again, ordering everyone to use all their forces against the enemy. He then orders them to obey at once. Liam says he will also advance with his SH. Goz is impressed to see the boy standing still despite having no chance of winning. The boy did not choose to hide, and the young man beside him says the Banfield force is approaching. A robot knight charges across the pirate ship at high speed. Liam orders them to release their robot knights and sends all his personal guards to the battlefield. He lands his machine furiously and shouts for them to try to stop him. A precise strike takes out several robot knights. Those around him notice his strength, and his soldiers are so impressed they can hardly. I believe the boy can do all of this at such a young age. Liam is confident with his robot. Still, the boy hasn't reached adulthood yet, which is abandoned by his parents. The boy carried himself like a true lord and now risks his life to save them from the pirate. At one point, that soldier considered leaving the army, but meeting that lord changed his mind. He won't let a pirate invade his land, and it's the first time he's seen a noble face the enemy head-on, plus the boy doesn't seem she. Laughing with gratitude, he feels honored to serve that lord. Liam's knight machine advances, destroying everything in its path. Enemies are easily defeated. Liam smiles, convinced he is invincible. His power is enormous. He immediately destroys anyone who tries to approach. Seeing that the enemy's attack can't even scratch him, he figures it's probably thanks to his gut. Everything his master taught him had a purpose and gave him a clearer understanding of things. Even now, with enemies closing in from behind, the boy knows exactly what needs to be done. The boy shouts as he shoots at the enemies, glad they revealed themselves too. He refuses to be defeated. He wants the name Liam Sarah Banfield to never be. Gotten some robot knights start advancing faster. Liam notices it and wonders if they are the pirates. They try to move faster at night, but remain very slow. Leo easily hits them. No one can figure out where the boy learned to fight with a sword like that. Liam mocks said his master's name was Yasushi. The pirates are outraged that a child can fight so well and that none of them have ever heard the name Yasushi. Liam says he will destroy anyone who insults his master. The pirate captain slams his fist on the table and demands to know who that famous knight is. His subordinate reports that the pilot of that robot knight is Liam, who is responsible for the Banfield family. He can't believe the mercenaries he paid a fortune for are losing to a kid. The man starts to lose his temper. Furious, he orders them to press in on Liam harder to take him down for good, but the boy is already running toward him. Pirate forces are nearly defeated. The battle is going badly, so now is the perfect time for them to slip away and hide, and the pirate army will probably grow even larger. But Goa feels fairly confident because he still has the alchemy box that gives him unlimited money and lets him restart everything repeatedly. The pirate summons his subordinate. Go warns they'll lose if they keep going and says to call only those they trust, treating the rest as expendable. If one of their own ships gets in the way, it should be destroyed completely. Liam succeeds in landing on the enemy ship. He's glad he made it thereat. In that instant, all the pirate's treasure was his. Liam's knights approach and ask if he is okay. He says he's fine and tells them to get ready to enter. 1,000 must stay behind while the rest must follow him. He must invade. The mission is to destroy everyone who can. Liam's army move away to put the mission into. After practice, determined to go after his treasure, the boy opens the enemy ship and slips in through a gap. Liam enters and the enemies try to hit him, but all their attacks fail. Soldiers approached and told him they had come to take him, but the boy refused. Liam says he will go on the treasure hunt and everyone there will go with him. His army complains that it is too dangerous. Even so, the MC remains unfazed and tells them to go in. Liam and the others board the ship. The boy takes the lead, noting the place is much cleaner than he expected. His soldiers look worried about him. Safety, something catches the boy's eye. Warning of an enemy ahead, he draws his weapon and strikes the. Suddenly the target, an enemy who had been hiding, falls to the ground. Apparently they were wearing very expensive clothes that made them invisible. The MC realizes that if someone can afford clothes like that, they must have far more treasure. Suddenly, someone approaches the. A group of pirates say the boy was very careless and didn't see them coming. Before he could take any action against the MC, something happens and his soldiers run toward him. By now, Liam has solved the problem and cut all the enemies into pieces. The soldiers are stunned by the situation. Liam urges them to hurry and says he is going deeper into the SH. From a distance, the man in the top hat watches the entire back. He can't believe Liam can be that strong. The teacher arranged for Liam was supposed to be a fraud, but in the end he actually taught the boy something, and the guide begins to panic. Pain begins in his chest, and his organs feel like they are coming apart. He watches the pirate captain, as the man in the top hat says it's not his style to interfere directly. The situation forces this action. Goa is curled up in a corner, terrified this may be his end, and wonders if he can bribe Liam and his group with the treasures from that cube. The man in the top hat's voice suddenly echoes in his head. The pirate captain asks who it is, and suddenly his body seems possessed. In a dark voice, the guide offers him a chance and extraordinary power to defeat Liam. He says Goes can take all that power unless he prefers to lose to the boy, and the captain says he does not want to lose. Black smoke enters his mouth as he writhes in pain. The man in the top hat watches everything closely and happily. His body is completely possessed, and he even changes. As if by magic, he's no longer afraid of anything. Suddenly, Goza seems incredibly strong. The guide says his skin is as hard as diamond and that he has surpassed ordinary humans. In that moment, Goza feels no fear and must attack Liam. Excited by his powers and without fear in his heart, he charges toward the. The guide says the boy may have exaggerated his powers, but no matter how strong Liam has become, he will not be able to defeat Goat. The man in the top hat steps back as an animal spirit appears behind him, staring at him in confusion. When Goes ran out, his magic cube dropped to the ground. The dog watches the magic cube with curiosity. When Liam was a child, he had a dog. The dog was his best friend and they were very close. Liam was delighted with that little creature. Now the dog seems to need to make amends. Determined, he sets out to find. A dog passes near the MC's group, and Liam is startled as if he has seen something. His soldiers asked what had happened, and he says he thinks he saw a dog. The group searches for the dog, but the sensors detect nothing. yet the MC insists he saw the little creature. In his past life, he had a pet dog who was loving and energetic, and in the end, the only living being that never betrayed him. Only now did he remember that dog. One of his soldiers draws the boy's attention. The boy says it's nothing serious. Liam is certain that if he finds the dog in this life, he will do everything to take care of him. Suddenly, he spots Goza's cube on the ground. At last, the golden box is his. The soldiers knew the boy liked gold, but they did not realize how much. Liam says he really loves gold, but he sees something on the horizon. His soldiers try to stop him, but the boy runs toward what he thinks is his. He discovers a closed door. It's locked, but footprints go through it. Using his sword and a swift motion, Liam cuts the huge metal door into pieces. A room inside looks like a treasure chamber. Liam decides the treasures are useless, despite his men saying otherwise. Still, there is a katana. Liam eagerly lifts the sword. He likes the weapon and opts to keep it for himself, although the object looks valuable, and the boy intends to use it as a weapon. Someone shouts to Liam that there's an emergency. The emergency warning says they tried to fight someone who looked like Goz, but all the bullets were repelled and the weapons warn Liam that the location is very dangerous and he should return to the ship. The troops start to grow restless, but the MC remains unshaken and says they will continue to advance. The men tell the boy to stay and not move forward, but he keeps going. This is no good. Inside, the soldiers continue fighting and their attempts to attack fail. The former pirate captain says they were brave to board that ship and will not come out of their hole. Grinning maliciously, he tells everyone there. They will become his toys as he charges toward the soldiers. Ghost reaches out and grabs the men's helmets. Smiling, he tells them not to feel ashamed about playing. Steps forward and shouts for them to bring the kid to. From a distance, the soldiers see their attacks failing and that the man appears altered and stronger, so they send a message to the MC to warn him to flee toward the ship. The soldiers will not let that monster reach Liam, whatever it takes. The group moves forward toward the enemy. The man in Goz's hand falls lifeless to the ground. Laughing, the pirate captain sneers that it's all they've got, but an unexpected attack happens before he can act. Multiple cuts cross his body, leaving him confused. Liam stands before him. The MC says his attack won't work against that enemy. This is because Goz is apparently very difficult to. He moves to cut. The boy drops his sword to the ground. Angrily demanding who the kid is, he is suddenly startled when his hand is cut off. It falls to the ground in the blink of an eye. When Liam reaches for his sword, the MC says the man no longer needs it, since he seems to be doing fine using his own hands. Goz attacks Liam to get his sword back, but the boy cuts off his other hand, and the MC notes the sword is very powerful and cuts the enemy easily, while Goz's strength is far greater than it looks and tentacles begin to emerge from his. Grabbing a hand, he shouts not to underestimate him. Before another strike lands, Liam tears the tips off all his tentacles into tiny pieces, leaving Goz momentarily speechless. Writhing in pain, the pirate captain listens to Liam complain that he is very noisy as soldiers run to the boy to try to help him, and the enemy has been shredded, leaving only his torso on the ground as he asks if the boy is Liam. The MC calls that piece of trash Lord Liam. The boy asks the soldier who the creature is, and the man replies they think it's Goz. While they talk, the pirate captain begins to manifest. A new tentacle reaches for the boy as he shouts for Liam not to ignore him. Quickly, the boy cuts this one as well and tells the man again that he is very noisy. He points a sword at Goz's head and asks if Goza is the pirate captain. Desperate, the man begs Liam to spare his life and promises that if he is allowed to live, he will give all his treasures to the boy. Liam breaks into a huge smile while going PL. After offering lades, he says he doesn't want any of them. An ugly face and tattoos covering his body remind him of the lone sharks from his past life. In this life, he has far greater power, so Liam asks whether Goz still does not understand. The pirate already owns all his treasure, and now he is just a trophy for Liam. In complete despair, Ghost insists he is still powerful. Although he lost to the MC, he defeated his soldiers. If the boy spares him, he can serve him as a reliable war machine. Even though he doesn't have it with him at that moment, he owns a box of treasures, and Liam sees he's eager to get his hands on them. He then says he will ensure Goza faces a thorough interrogation that makes him reveal everything. Agonizing, the pirate tries to scream for his life, while a soldier asks Liam if they will capture the man and he invites him. The MC asks whether that's a problem, and the soldier says not exactly, but he's taken out many of their Liam asks whether that is why they want to take Goz's life. The boy says he heard they would get more from the Empire if they brought Goza back alone. The soldier replies that when it comes to Goz, it doesn't matter whether he's alive or dead as long as he can prove he dealt with him, and Liam notices a wanted poster offering a reward for the pirate while, in desperation, Goz pleads for his life. No longer bothered, Liam tells the man to stop and finishes him off once and for all. After everything, Goz's head lies in a pool of blood on the ground. Someone notices his skin suddenly changes. The boy lifts the pirate's head with his hands. Doubt remains whether that proves they defeated Goz, and a soldier confirms by handing him a bag. Another soldier arrives and says the ship is cleaned, and the boy asks whether that means everything is over. He asks who is tied up next to his soldier, and is told the pirates call the man the creator, and now they will take him to the pirates' prison. To escape, Liam pushes the man who is complaining to him before the MC enters the room. His soldiers say they will check inside to make sure it is safe. The prisoner says everything inside is his personal property and should be left untouched. Liam calls for him, saying the man is known as the creator who cares for beasts and creatures, and asks if there is a dog there. The man smiles broadly behind his glass. He says Liam loves dogs and can turn any of them into the dog Liam wants. The man asks whether Liam wants the dog to be obedient or wants an animal lead. The MC is clearly confused by the conversation, and men are pulled out of the hall making strange noises. Liam asks what is inside. His soldier says it's better if he does not go in. Liam says he is now very curious to know what's in there. The man with glasses says the place is his lab and that he built it for his hobby. Liam will probably find everything there very interesting. The soldiers grow agitated and curse the old man, and he says the subordinates apparently do not share the Lord's taste. Still, he insists Liam will love what's inside and appreciate how magnificent body modification can be. Before the old man speaks again, Liam swings his sword in half. The man's head falls into a puddle. Liam grimaces and says he feels disgusting. Then the MC steps into the room, which is filled with cages and huge tubes, and a creature is halfway out of one of the cages. A dark voice rises from it and questions what happened to Goas. The voice is the result of Goa's hobby of distorting things. Liam says he handled both the pirate and the creator, and the woman who had once been a girl widens her eyes in shock. In a calmer voice, she says it's finally over. The soldiers are disgusted by the scene. The creatures in the cage say they don't know who Liam is, but if he shows any compassion, he should save them. The MC asks if that's what they want him to do, and the thing says they may no longer be able to live as humans, but would like to. Get out of there. Liam pauses briefly to think about that request. He says he will save them, but they must repay the favor somehow. The thing looks confused by that. Liam shouts for them to call a doctor and get those creatures out of there. It screams that this is not what it wanted and begs Liam to end its life and the lives of the others once and for all. The soldier explains they cannot defy their leader's order. Apologizing for them, he says they are very sorry as the creature cries, and they leave the dark room behind. Liam finds those hobbies disgusting and terrifying, and doubts they felt any happiness destroying such beautiful women and men, and a soldier asks Liam if he really intends to help them. To save them, they need to be rebuilt from the ground up. Liam asks if they can do it, and the man says yes, but the elixirs can be very XP. The elixir heals everything in that fantasy world, and because it is rare, the Empire sells it at inflated prices. Liam says a small elixir for himself will be enough, but the soldier counters that they will also need doctors and equipment. This will require extensive therapy and could take years for a full recovery, and the costs will be exorbitant. When they asked Liam to save them, they wanted something different. The boy says he knows this, that he felt a pang of generosity in his chest, and that it doesn't hurt to be kind to someone. Afterward, on the Banfield House grounds, Liam and his group rejoin the celebration with the whole population. Brian is crying with emotion because the boy came back alive. Amagi speaks bluntly, saying he acted that way because he didn't think Liam could win. The boy asks Brian if that's true, and the butler denies it. The maid says they received a message from the capital offering Liam a reward for exterminating the pirates, and the young man asked if that was what his guide was talking about. The Trade Center and the 7th Weapons Factory also contacted them to negotiate for the pirates' treasures and ships. Apparently, engineer Nies Carlin wants to use every part of those ships, and since they now have a large amount of rare metals, they may want those too. Liam begins to understand. About how things work, his top priority is to talk to Tom. Afterward, he meets the merchant. Liam smiles and calls the merchant very wicked, while Thomas says he offered a fair price. The boy tells him not to mind because he always wanted to say it. They managed to sell most of the treasures from Goa. That lets them pay off their debts with a comfortable margin, and Liam says he will leave the choice of doctors to Thomas as well, to which the man agrees and asks whether the boy will go to his ceremony. The young man says his schedule is full, so he plans to go next year. Thomas will be at the ceremony and hasn't forgotten the boy's small yellow candies. Liam is very excited to see the bars of gold in front of him. The MC celebrates cheerfully, saying the merchant is truly wicked and cunning. The capital is known as the Algranda Empire. This capital city commands the entire galaxy, is ringed by a rare metallic liquid, has an artificially controlled sky, has space elevators that reach the surface, and holds a population of 10 billion. Inside an elegant building, someone holds their cape. Liam asks whether that is a bit excessive. Amagi replies he is not being excessive because he will meet the emperor and everyone will be watching. Someone suddenly opens the door and enters. Two couples approach, and a man says he hasn't seen Liam for a long time. Confused, the boy asks who they are. The man says they haven't seen each other for a long time, so it's normal the boy doesn't recognize him. Still, the MC does not know who they are. Amagi identifies two of them as his parents and the other two as his grandparents. Liam remembers they were the ones who left him to deal with that territory's debt. Darcy Banfield, his mother, says the boy is very funny, and his father, Cliff Banfield, says the boy seems to have forgotten them. She noticed Liam still carries the toy they gave him, but he no longer needs it and they should throw it away. Liam starts to worry about Amagi. His family stares at him briefly. Amagi says she will wait in another room. Still, the MC tells her not to bother and to stay. There he asks what his father wants from him. Cliff Banfield is blunt, saying he heard Liam will get a big prize and wants a share. They have also fallen into debt in the capital. That's why they want the boy to raise their allowance. The boy's grandfather says he is very proud of his grandson. Liam asks Amagi to send the guests home. The four are thrown out and the door slams shut in front of them. His parents ask how he could treat them that way. The boy is indignant that his parents are asking for more money, and Amagi tells him he has no obligation so he need not worry, creating a very awkward situation. Then Amagi recommends increasing the allowance in exchange for cutting ties, since if they're not careful the boy's name could be tarnished. Liam asked her to prepare the paperwork and said he would cover the necessary costs. Amagi promptly said she would handle it. The man in the top hat is having trouble. In intense pain, he blames Liam and doesn't even have the power to cross the worlds. Because he became too involved with that bastard, all his gratitude is directed at. The guide complains that he will never forgive the boy. Behind a door, he hears Liam's parents complaining. Everyone in the family is arguing. The man in the top hat smiles because this is very good. When that moment comes, the boy's family will be his enemy. Amagi moves through the corridors. Earlier, Liam asked whether she really wasn't going to the ceremony, and the maid said it could cause him problems. He says he doesn't care, but she tries to argue. He understands the situation now. Walking through the corridors, Amagi hears someone speak. A voice says Liam is no longer useful right then. The voices complain that having an android by their side is shameful and they need to do something about it. Voices debate whether killing Liam is the best option. Amagi stands outside, downcast and leaning. After listening, she concludes it may be time for her to leave the boys' lives herself. At the ceremony, everyone applauds Liam in honor of the Supreme Lord of the Cap. People throw confetti during a big celebration. Elsewhere, Liam's father tries to dispute His Excellency about changing the family's title again. The man in front says this was already done and there is no reason to do it again. Cliff Banfield says the boy dared to bring an android into the palace and suggests the man wants the Banfield family to fall into disgrace. The man says Liam defeating the pirates and protecting the territory should matter more, and there is no rule stopping someone from walking with their robots. They are just tree. Cliff Banfield, indignant, shouts at the man, warning that this could be dangerous and urging him to reconsider, while His Excellency sighs deeply. He says Liam cleared the previously neglected debt, and the Empire expects major contributions going forward. Cliff Banfield says that when he rises again, he will also meet his duties and obligations regarding the taxes. The man asks whether Cliff Banfield wants him to believe in him this time after never having paid a tax. This shows a big difference between Cliff Banfield and his son, and the boy is far more useful to the Empire. Angrily, the man tells Cliff Banfield that if he were in Cliff's place, he would behave better, since he wants to live peacefully in the capital. Far away, Liam asks Amagi if the basket parties are. That's usually how it is. He's very confused. Amagi pets the boys. She tilts her head, asks if he didn't like it, and the boy says he was surprised. Now an adult, Imagi has served him for nearly 40 years, and he says it does not feel that long. He asks why she suddenly said that. Imagi begins to explain. Then she says she doesn't think she should stay by the boy's side. The Empire has already suffered heavy damage from robots, and she may be tarnishing her master's reputation. Liam asks what kind of joke this is, and Imagi insists it is not a joke. This ensures her master's health and safety. Liam's trauma has surfaced, triggered by his memory of a past life wife telling him she loved him and wanted to stay by his side forever. Ultimately, she abandoned him with their daughter. Liam quickly stands up and asks if Imagi will leave him too. Furious, the boy demands to know whether she will leave him and whether she hates being by his side, then says he now understands that not even robots can stay with him. Imagi turns to him and says it's not true. Her time with him was the best, but she has to go to help prepare his successor. Trying to explain, the girl finds Liam doesn't understand and shouts that she must follow his orders. He then orders her to stay by his side. Tearful, Liam says his order must come first. If it is an order, Imagi says she will follow it. Liam says he should have said this at the start, but she must never abandon him. It's him, Imagi praises the boy. Liam tells her it has always been just the two of them and asks about Brian. The boy says that is not what he means. Filled with excitement, Imagi promises to stay by the MC's side as long as she can. A vast fireball engulfed her world, and someone called for Christiana, the Night Princess. She lost everything, including her family and everyone in her territory. Christiana shouted at Goa's claim that he had kept his promise, but the pirate captain did not seem bothered by that. That he would walk away from his world. Using Christiana's subordinates, he gathered information about her. In the real world, an evil will always prevail. Christiana believed that one day someone capable of defeating Goas would still appear after being deformed and tortured, as she had hoped. At that moment, Christiana opens her eyes. The girl in front of her asks if she has regained consciousness. She regains consciousness, asking where she is. The girl hears her own voice and notes it no longer sounds strange or hoarse, and the woman before her says the girl is the best Christiana she has seen in person. A mirror appears before the girl, and she sees her reflection. The doctor explains they rebuilt Christiana's entire body with a regeneration treatment that took some time, and she can hardly believe her body has returned to how it was. The doctor says they chose to use an elixir, and the girl asks why they would spend something so precious on someone like her. The doctor says they only did what was necessary, and Christiana will need extensive rehabilitation for her body to fully recover. Christiana is eager and says she will do whatever is needed. This is necessary for improvement. It all feels like a dream, but it is reality. Growing agitated, she demands to know who did this and says she was once royalty, but since her world was destroyed, she cannot repay the favor, and as she tries to get up, the doctor tells her to calm down. This was no mistake, and she does not need to pay for the treatment because the Banfield continent already paid everything in advance, and the person responsible was the Lord himself who treated everyone trapped on the pirate ship. Christiana falls silent for a moment. She is stunned when she realizes he paid for everyone. The doctor says the Lord said he was repaying a favor himself. At that moment, Christiana needs to focus on recovering both her body and her mind. The girl remembers Liam saying he'd save her, but she should repair. It is hard for the girl to believe the boy who did the favor was the one who saved her, and the doctor says that was the only message Liam sent her. At the boy's house, Brian approaches and says the treatment reports show everything is going all right. Liam seems a little confused, Brian asked. Liam had clearly forgotten that he chose to buy a huge amount of supplies for the people trapped on the pirate ship, and reports say everyone is recovering and should be back to full health in a few years. Most of them lost their planets and are highly capable, so there is no reason to prevent them from staying there. Liam is excited mainly because those people are very beautiful and interesting. Liam holds Gaz's box and says he took it from the pirate captain's belongings. Brian says he has information about the item. The butler says he was an adventurer in his younger days. Meanwhile, he read descriptions of the box. It sounded like something from a fairy tale, but it could turn any non-living object into gold. Liam understands it means anything that is not a living organism. Excited, he asks whether this means he can have all the gold he wants, and Brian cuts him off. They agree, but it has always been a fairy tale, and if they found the real item, the Banfield house could solve all its problems in an instant. Liam wonders whether they should search for the real object, and Brian approaches quickly. He tells the boy to stop acting foolish because he is in charge of the band. Fieldhouse Liam gets nervous but goes along with it. Alone in his room, the main character thinks this box could be the real. If so, he'd only need to open the lid and activate it with his own word. The boy tests it with his old katana, opens the box lid, and recites words to turn the blade into gold. A strange symbol appears before him. These are ancient writings he learned in the education capsule, where he selects the option to change form. The katana suddenly feels heavier when gold covers it entirely, so Liam now understands why Goz was so rich and remembers what his guide said. The man in the top hat made him rich and gave him an endless fortune. Meanwhile, his guide is in severe pain because of Liam's gratitude. All his powers are leaving his body. The man intends to kill the boy and cause him pain and bitterness. Meanwhile, the MC sleeps soundly with his golden sea. Katana, except the man in the top hat, is consumed by fury. Brian is crying heavily. He says watching Liam become an adult on his 50th birthday is an indescribable feeling. Liam asks Amagi what duty he has for the day. The maid says there is only 1 hour left until the coming-of-age ceremony and that many parties will follow, and Brian reminds him that Liam's next day is also. Everything is fully booked. The boy objects, saying he does not want that, but Brian says there are no options left. A girl is waiting outside the door. She greets the boy very happily. At a loss for words, it hears the girl say any outfit would look good on the Lord. In just 1 year, Christiana finished her rehabilitation and quickly offered to be his personal knight. Learning she is exceptional, he asks if the girl is ready to start work, and Christiana says that will not be a problem. Without an imperial qualification as a knight, she must leave that planet immediately to obtain one. Coming from another continent, she lacks that qualification, and obtaining it requires graduating from at least 2 institutions and takes about 30 years. Excited, Christiana says she will do her best to obtain the qualifications for the Lord. Being surrounded by such remarkable women brings him great prestige, and he lives in a stunning mansion while spending money like there is no tomorrow. Looking at his house, Liam realizes it has become huge. At the ceremony, everyone is dressed in their best. Thomas notes the Lord has very refined taste because he built that place entirely out of gold. Nias Carlin, excited, agrees and says Liam apparently prefers function over looks. Several important guests are present, including large-scale merchants seeking opportunities, and people from other weapon factories are also occupying the space. Thomas says the powerful aristocrats among the guests don't concern him, but the neighboring lords see this as the rise of a new great house, and at Liam's age becoming a lord is not something to celebrate. Meanwhile, the noble houses reveal a plan to test Lord Liam and decide if he can be trusted, and Thomas notices something. Christiana was one of the first to recover among those Liam rescued, and Nias Carlin wonders if Liam saved her just because she is beautiful. Thomas says he cannot say that's the case, and although he has seen many knights come and go, she has a different aura. In theory, she is a legendary knight, which would make her very old, but it's just a rumor. If someone so extraordinary is offering to protect Liam, he likely has a bright future. Liam's imperial ships move forward. Gunners open fire on enemy targets. The pirate fleet starts to fall back. The captain asks Liam for the order. The boy orders them to destroy all the enemies. Watching, the MC complains he never got a chance to leave the ship and fight in person, and someone approaches and calls for him. A girl approaches and asks if the young man liked the weapons from the 3rd weapons factory. Ulyssia Murasiu is the technology officer. Liam says he noticed a few things to change, but they still rank above the competition. Ulyssia Morrison says they boosted performance and changed the design into something they think Liam would like. Excited, the boy says he'll buy them all, and the girl beams. The Empire allowed the Banfield house to acquire a powerful, efficient weapon, and he thought about who should build it until he concluded the 3rd factory was probably the best option. Ulyssia Morrisile asks whether Liam has anything in mind, and the boy begins to speak as someone enters the hall. Nias Carlin is angry with the boy. Nias Carlin says Liam promised to buy those armored weapons from the 7th factory, and Liam replies that Nias Carlin is the only good thing about that factory, which offends the girl. Ulyssia Morrisile greets Nias Carlin and says she cannot understand how the factory put someone as strange as her in charge of sales. Paul tells Elijah Morrisile she has been promoted to captain. They glare at each other angrily. Liam says they seem to have known each other for quite a while. Ulyssia Morrisile says they only know each other a little and have met in many negotiations. Nias Carlin is an excellent engineer but weak at sales. Offended, the girl says she has personally sold many of the factory's products and that her sales have grown in recent years, so Liam is impressed. Ulysses Morrisil chuckles and says those numbers only rose because of Liam, since the other houses are not buying their products. The MC doubts it, while Nies Carlin insists they are doing a better job for the Banfield house, and the boy says they are less needed now because the enemies are weak. Elijah Morrisil says this is due to the boy's excellent fleet, since nothing happens by chance. He even fought pirates with thousands of ships, yet Liam still isn't satisfied with the. Right then, the boy decides to expand his fleet and buy new ships from Ulysses, and the girl thanks him excitedly. Carlin calls Liam and tells him she has already informed her superiors that they closed the contract, then throws herself on the ground and says she would be very happy if he bought some fleets from her. Bigger ships would be better for her. Liam watches the girl quietly, then tells her he will buy 100 ships from Nies Carlin, and she thanks him very much. As Nies Carlin prepares the order, the captain walks up to Liam and reports that the pirates have been annihilated. The boy tells them to gather everything left behind and not to forget a thing. Next, they return to the Banfield House Space Fortress. Amagi and two other girls greet him on his return. She says there's no need to welcome him every time he comes back. Amagi asks Liam to reconsider his social standing, and the boy asks her not to be angry with him. The maid says she is not angry. The boy says the enemies are very weak, only a few insects. Amagi says she understands, but they must be careful with the pirates. Liam is still looking for a worthy opponent to face, but Amagi says that will be a problem, and Liam asks why. She tells him he's already known across the territory as the pirate hunter, and Liam grows worried because that means the pirates are avoiding him. The boy notes that hunting pirates is what brings them profit, so they cannot lose. The maid says he should be glad to hear that. The territory's administration is running very smoothly, and even without hunting pirates, it is doing very well financially. They can turn wreckage taken from enemy ships into as much gold as they want. Amagi shows the boy which resources are lacking. The MC pulls out his magic box and holds it out before. He sends a wave of magic that transforms everything, turning the scraps into valuable items, and Liam says everything is ready. We collect space junk, convert it into valuable resources, and sell them to generate income. Liam asks Amagi if they can pay off all the debts now, so he can be free of this soon. Amagi warns that if he clears the entire debt, they will realize he can create unlimited money, and that will expose the box. That means it's not time to make that choice yet, and Amagi asks whether Liam bought an absurd amount of weapons. He received contact from the 3rd and 7th weapon factories, and the boy doubts whether he made the right choice. Amagi refuses to say what her master can or cannot do, saying it could keep them from strengthening their fleets. Liam says they can trade all the old equipment. His maid warns this would create unnecessary work and that the boy should avoid doing it in the future. The MC admits he can't help buying things on impulse, and Amagi suggests he try to cut back. Then he asks if they have chosen which house he will train in. After a pause, he says this has not yet been decided. The MC urges a quick decision because overthinking does no good, and nobles usually go through long training before adulthood, starting by choosing a different noble house for that training. Because of the Banfield house's history, no one will accept any of its members, leaving it isolated from noble society, and Brian and Amagi are working to rebuild ties with the other houses from the ground up. Amagi says Brian keeps choosing the best options, and for now they can only wait. Later, Brian says he has found the perfect house for Liam to train in. The boy asks where this house is located. Brian says he's not very interested in that. The MC says he heard this training exists only to strengthen ties between houses, since he'll only spend a few years in the care of another noble family. The butler says the Razzle house he found truly puts real-life training into practice, has made its fortune by processing rare minerals with advanced technology, and is popular for training young people since it accepts only 10 per year. Liam notes that none of the nearby houses has thrived, and they only recently began accepting immigrants. Amagi points out that the Banfield house is expanding rapidly. The MC. They need to put more effort into developing the area because the boy has begun to show interest in the entertainment there. Amagi suggests the boy re-enter the education capsule for a while. While the boy sleeps, Amagi stays in control of everything, and Brian complains and asks for a bigger role, but the boy only tells him to keep working quietly. At Razel, Randolph says this year's application is useless, and it's not worth pursuing relationships with any noble house. Only useless houses remain, not worth mentioning, and a man says the Exmer house is also sending its older children for training this year. They are offering some gifts, and the applicant's skills should also be considered. Randolph says he does not want to form ties with emerging houses. Still, House Xmer's heir is highly skilled, but Randolph has no interest. He cares only about the bond he can form with the house. That bond is the purest form of power. Personal strength is useless. Standing behind Randolph is the man in the top hat. Standing still, he concludes this is his chance. At last his moment for revenge has come. Determined to alter the group's database but lacking enough access, he decides to swap Liam's data with someone else's, and one of the people present notices the information. They say Liam is the worst choice. His household's finances are ruined, and they have a huge debt they cannot repay. He should be ashamed to submit his application to form a relationship with the house. Randolph Razel says they already agreed to accept Liam's application, and the gifts from the Hanfield house have arrived. Even so, they must give proper treatment to the houses like these can bring profits they cannot refuse, and a startled girl tells Randolph to look at a data point. When shown to the boy, he says it is incredible and F. The information shows that he became head of the house at just 5 years old, handled the debts effectively and greatly reduced them, wiped out pirate forces and received rewards from the empire, and made the house noble and powerful. Extending relationships is the best option for the Razel house. Randolph even contemplates offering his daughter in marriage to him. Liam can hardly wait for the next year to arrive at the. Several shipments arrive at the Razel spaceport. One of the guards says this is the first time he has seen so many gifts arrive from a noble house. The ship carrying these items is state-of-the-art, and the PTAC house offers great value. The Banfield house arrived with only a few ships and showed poor manners by bringing no gifts. The guards wondered why they had accepted someone so foolish. The man in the top hat watches everything with quiet pleasure. Someone steps up and greets Randolph Razel. It is. Peter Sarapidak says he will be under their care from then on. Randolph is pleased by this information. Welcoming Peter, he says it is a pleasure to have him, and that, since the journey must have tired him, he should take a moment to rest. A banquet will be held the next day to welcome him. Smiling, Peter tells his staff to take him to a room immediately so he can rest. Randolph agrees and says he will bring him to his quarters. The man says he wants Peter to meet his daughter, and the boy asks whether she is beautiful. He says she is lovely, and more than that, she is his most precious treasure. Randolph's goal is to use his daughter to get Peter back on track and make him work for the Razel house. Meanwhile, Liam arrives at his quarters, an almost empty double room. A rough man announces their training will start that very day. He shouts to those present. They are not guests and are there to train, so he will present the rules. Someone complains that he's in a room for two and asks how many gifts his family has sent to the kingdom. The man ignores him and tells the boys to save their breath for training and change their clothes. Liam sees this as nothing like he imagined. Liam expected to live in luxury during the training and sent several gifts to the Razel family, so Brian even gave up his favorite bonsai for it. The bonsai was his most valuable possession. Brian tended that tree for centuries. It won many competitions and is highly valuable. Even so, the MC thinks the training might just be very strict. In any case, Count Vi Randolph is the complete opposite of Liam and a very virtuous man, and their instructor shouts that from that day forward, they will have to practice running every morning. Realizing his roommate is Xnur of the Baron house, Liam knows he can surpass him. Kurt Xnur is getting dressed. Noticing Liam, he quickly turns to the other side. The MC realizes he somehow manages to annoy him. A month passes since they've been in this TR. Every day starts with physical training, then we have classes. Afterward, they have to do the house staff's chores to understand how important the work is. This routine repeats every day. Liam is more bored than ever. Until now, he spent every morning training with a sword, so what he is doing now feels lazy, and he finds it easy not to have to deal with maids or guests. Ella Sarah Berman calls Liam and tells them to continue with the work. On the other side of the window, they spot someone laughing. Nobles are laughing and practicing an interesting SB. Among them are Peter and Randolph's daughter. Ella notices that Viscount Razel's daughter Katarina is always at Peter's side. Randolph clearly likes the boy a lot. Ella says Peter's house is impressive and has evolved quickly. He managed to turn his territory into the complete opposite of what it used to be, and people say he even has the sword school license. Still too young to be a count, he faces many expectations. Having expanded his territory and holding the sword school license, Peter is like the MC, but here Liam is the villain, and the other will become a benevolent lord. Liam suspects the Razor House has probably discovered he is very cruel and asks Ella whether he is that bad. Ella tells the boy not to put himself down because they're all in the same situation. The boy then says that someone like Ella, being on that side, seems a bit strange. Claiming to be her house's third daughter, she says her older brother will inherit everything, and she is only there to build a good relationship with the Razor House. He notes she is right. She says the boy is very kind for taking pity on her, though he barely. The MC notes that almost everyone on that side of the Razzle House has their own problems. That makes Ella his ally, and anyone who received similar treatment is too. He would do well to spend time making friends there. Kurt is one of the boys living with Liam, but their relationship is not going well. Kurt barely meets Liam's gaze. The MC says the boy annoys him a lot and he hates him. Ella grows serious and tells him he cannot hate her. Agitated, the girl says they should form a bond since they already share a room. Liam says that if Kurt chooses to bow to him, the boy will consider that possibility. Ella pauses briefly. Liam, she says, is very self-centered. It felt strange when their coach blew a whistle and shouted that they would start a martial arts session that day, and even though it was just training, they should not let their guard down. Young people are offered swords and other weapons. They may choose any they prefer and must train with the people who share their room. Liam picks up a shock sword. His opponent at that moment is Kurt, and the MC notices the boy has a weapon like his. Kurt admits he can't hold himself back and will likely hurt Liam. The MC notes the boy seems unaware of his own abilities and is licensed in the single strike style. Kurt says he does not know what that is and asks whether it is a type of school. Liam says the boy seems even more determined to F. When the coach shouts for them to start, Liam quickly grabs his sword. Still, Kurt manages to counter and defend himself. The main character is Ska. The two boys move apart. Kurt managed to keep up with his move. Everyone is watching as Kurt apologizes to Liam for underestimating his skill. Their relationship is getting better. The coach yells at them not to stand around doing nothing and defeat. Kurt is showering after training. Someone who relies on their house to shine is nobody, his F. Kurt's father earned his noble standing through skill, and from birth Kurt has trained to earn a license. This is not meant to be pretentious, but he was still the one who. He got hit, but in that attack he managed to block Liam's strike. He expected it to be just another ordinary lesson. Liam seems to have a few things to teach him. He will. Laughing, he says taking 60% of the profits as fees is really cruel and that he himself does not do it, but Kurt says that is not a reason. He tried not to laugh, and Liam asked the boy not to be angry with him about it. The extra house is new, so although they control some territories, they have no idea how to use them. Still, no matter how much money they collect, they do not know how to deal with the popple. They sent him there to handle it, but the training was the same as everywhere else. They tried to prioritize public health, but strict government rules made it difficult, and they lacked basic knowledge. Sam points out Kurt picked the worst place to train, and the boy agrees. Still, he must learn some things there for his family's sake. Liam says he can teach Kurt several things about fees and how to manage the population. Kurt is stunned by the MC's suggestion. Liam warns that administration must be handled carefully because taking 60% of the population's profits leaves them no money to grow. Kurt says his father had already thought of that. Liam reflects that Kurt taking so much money from his people makes him like the boy. The MC says it's better to take money from those who have it than from those who don't. Fatten the castle first, even if it is difficult. Liam shouts that Kurt can start draining the population again after he makes them powerful, and the boy must wait until. Still, whatever he does, he must remain under military control and never let his guard down. Kurt notices how well things are going in Liam's land, and the boy says that's why people consider him an expert. The territory forming Kurt's continent is populated by poor people, even with the tributes the empire sends. Without fame or a name, no noble family would help them, or so Kurt believed, but he still had hope. At that moment the boy says they can hardly do anything, and their territory is in trouble. Watching Liam, he feels he has a chance for everything to go right. The MC says he should reform the military as much as possible, not with costly items, but with low-maintenance equipment. Kurt says they want to do it but lack the resources, and the population is already at its limit, while Liam adds that they are really draining the whole population. Kurt says it's because there are no choices left. Liam suggests he borrow money and offers to get the contacts. He says Kurt can speak to his private merchant for him. The boy questions Liam's certainty and warns that if they cannot repay, Banfield House will be the one in trouble. Liam says that sum is nothing to him, and he likes how Kurt. Furthermore, those wicked lords need to unite. Kurt cannot understand how Liam can call himself an evil lord, and even though Liam is talented and fighting his own struggles, Kurt believes that label is cruel. Kurt decides he wants to be like Liam. The boys reach out and shake hands. Together, they can accomplish far more. Liam says they should also discuss the condition of Kurt's territory. The boy says he wants to talk to his father first, and the MC agrees, saying he will contact his M. Later, while they do their daily tasks, Ella notices that Liam is getting along well with Kurt. The MC admits he owes an apology for misjudging the boy, and Ella says she's glad they're getting along. Liam asks how the girl's house is doing and offers to help, but she says she doesn't keep up with her family's business. Liam asks for her opinion of Kurt because he's currently single. Ella says marrying Kurt would be a bad idea and that only her family can decide. Liam says he feels very sorry for her right then. Ella tells him it's okay and he doesn't need to feel so bad. Later, they spot Katarine with the boy. The boy says no one will find out they are. Together, Ella says she heard rumors that Katarine was already engaged and that it is very bold of them to act that way. Liam says the Viscount Randolph's daughter is very assertive, and maybe that's a girl thing. This is uncommon. Even if partners come together, it is outside typical marriage norms, though some people can be polyamorous. It all depends on consent. Liam notes this often happens when people are forced into marriage. Ella insists that's not true, and in noble society marriages are often arranged out of necessity between houses, but some do happen for true love. She believes love matters and can make anything possible. She tells them to go clean other places because they've been stuck there too long. Even the best lord cannot stop crimes. Viscount Razel grows more anxious by the day, afraid the citizens will turn against him. Liam believes that will never happen to him, and it's bad that Peter doesn't know any of. Because of this, the young people are eating in the cafeteria, with Kurt sitting across from Liam. The boy says the satellite research and development training will start soon. Liam says they'll probably just work themselves to death again. He then asks if they will be allowed to use heavy industrial equipment for training and says the job seems much better than what they are doing now. Kurt thanks Liam for helping with his problems. He promises he'll always do his best to help his friend. The boy says it was a miracle that they met. At the next table. People begin to stir as they gossip among themselves. Liam and Kurt look confused. Suddenly Ella steps forward and asks if they are all right. Kurt notices the girl looks more excited than usual and asks if something happened. He says many events centered on whether the two were collecting natural resources for evolution and training in a nearby system, and whether they were unwilling to join her. Kurt agrees and asks Liam, who doesn't mind either. Ella, excited, says she'll be counting on them when the two go to space. Meanwhile, Peter is sprawled out asleep, claiming a sword school license, but making one excuse after another to avoid risky situations. Rumors say he has greatly improved his territory since becoming a lord, but many doubt that is true. Inside a spaceship in the middle of the void. As the young people gather, Liam notices the suit still smells of sweat, but Kurt remains excited to be there. Ella says she hates wearing clothes that smell like someone else, and the trainer yells for quiet because this is training for an extreme situation. Kurt finds solving problems without handling money a great experience for them. Ella says she sees nothing to improve there. Liam mocks both of them. He then asks if they are stupid. This is clearly a problem for House Razel, and they want the boys to use their heads to make improvements. It shows they never cared about that place, so it's a waste of time for someone like him who doesn't care about money. Ella tries to get Liam's attention, but he doesn't seem willing to change. Keep in mind that at his old job, they piled a ton of tasks on him, and if he failed, they'd just tell him to think better and work harder. When you do well, your boss takes all the credit, and Liam wishes he could tell his younger self. If your work values what you do, it's worth it. If not, walk away. Liam lands with the others on a machine that is a kind of plant. The boy notices this toy is much simpler than the robot he usually uses. Kurt and Ella seem to be doing well too. The trainer says Liam does more than just talk, and if he needs a job, he can come to him. The boy replies that firing him would cost a lot. Later, they return to the GR. At the ground base, Liam and Kurt train with swords and are exhausted afterward. Kurt wonders whether Liam has trained that way since childhood. The boy says this is nothing compared to his master's training. After all the talk about him, Kurt wants to meet him. Ella finds them as they keep walking down the hallway. She greets them, seeming very excited. Liam complains that he is very S. The girl says it's okay because she was just about to take the shot. With the three together, she wants to make a. Kurt complains about the clothes they're wearing, but Ella reassures him it's fine because she's just making a video to preserve the group's memories and films the three of them close together. She then leaves, thanking the two. Kurt notices Ella is always very affectionate. Liam sides with the guy for him, there is no reason to train there, but he is happy to meet those two. The MC thinks he wants to show it to Amagi, then remembers he forgot his daily call. Amagi says she asked him to stay in regular contact as soon as he called. The boy apologizes, saying he had a lot to do, and Amagi says it's fine as long as he's okay. She doesn't mind. Brian asks if the boy is doing well. Liam says there's not much to do and that the boy has been training on his own. When asked if he was excited, Brian said it made him happy and asked if the boy's outfit was a training uniform. Liam says that's actually their everyday clothing. Brian is shocked by that information. The MC asks for an update on his territory, and Amagi says everything is going as planned. She then asks what he means by everyday uniform and why he is on one of Viscount Razzle's asteroids instead of at the residence. Liam says they're there to do mining, which is boring, and it almost sounds like a joke. Brian grows very worried and asks what the boy means and whether they are making him work there. Liam replies that they say it is to teach them the value of work. A knock sounds at the door calling for the boy. Kurt says the boy's time is almost up, so he bids Amagi goodbye and Brian becomes very agitated on the other end of the line, and Amagi tries to tell him the boy can no longer hear them because he is already hung. The man points out that after they sent so many gifts, such treatment is unacceptable. Brian then says they must open an investigation and will not forgive such treatment. Amagi fully agrees and will first gather information about House Razel, and she feels somewhat relieved. It seems the master is making friends, and that makes her. Brian agrees with the maid, and at last Lord Liam is starting to make friends. Still, House Razel cannot be forgiven. Amagi says she will begin the investigation as soon as possible. Kurt takes a deep breath. Liam asks what happened, and the boy says he's having problems. Kurt has many fans because his father was knighted, but some of them are. This is extreme. Being knighted makes someone popular, and as people talk, Kurt's father's name spreads across the territory. Liam is impressed that the boy's father is so famous, and the boy says he wouldn't mind if they were just regular fans, but they keep taking photos and videos without permission, and it is causing a big commotion at home. By then, he has even found his own image circulating. Liam says Kurt is something like an idol to him. His eyes light up with an idea. MC says the boy can think about the home's security details later, but for now he should take a more positive view, because a valuable photo or video of a noble family is worth getting past every layer of security, and if Kurt sold it, he could earn a lot of money. The boy doubts Liam means he should sell pictures of his family and asks how that would solve his problem, since fans would want original images and they could fetch a high price if Kurt's father agrees. The original photos could fetch a much higher price. Kurt brightens and says he will try to speak with his father about it. Kurt then thanks Liam. Liam emphasizes that it is still important to keep an eye on the nearest staff members. She giggles, then tells Liam to eat his vegetables, but the boy says he does not want to and offers them to Kurt. Although the boy says he'll eat them because throwing them away would be wasteful, Liam really should eat. Better, the MC says he will never accept something that bitter as food. Kurt agrees it doesn't taste very good but says it's not that horrible. Something draws Liam's attention. He looks around, wondering if he's imagining it. The sound came from Ella. She realized it was nearby and got so excited she nearly gave herself away. Even so, it is still not the moment. Meanwhile, in a village, she needs more. The master of Liam and Asushi walks the streets thinking they want him to carry heavy equipment, but that requires a license. Although worn out, he knows how to use that equipment. Bursting into wild laughter, he shouts that he has experience. His stomach growls with hunger. Even though he performs tricks on the street, it doesn't bring in enough money. After selling everything he owned, he's still barely getting by. Asushi stops in front of a bakery window and realizes he's very hungry. Someone bumps into his shoulder. Asushi apologizes, yet the man who bumped him starts shouting. Dropping to the ground, he says his arm is dislocated, but Asushi dismisses it as not serious. One of the man's security guards starts yelling at the boy, asking if Asushi will cover the treatment costs, but the man says this is ridiculous, and the guard yells at Asushi, saying he will ruin life. Then Liam appears, talking to the guard looks back, startled, and hesitates. Someone asks what that boy is saying. The MC tells Asushi it's been a long time since they last met. Liam stands before the guards and a suit. Panic rises inside her as she wonders how the boy and the man ended up there. Realizing that if the MC has found out about his lie, the MC is probably there to kill him, Asushi decides to run as fast as he can. The guards doubt that the boy is really a sushi apprentice and say the sword in his hand must be a toy. Drawing a weapon, he declares Liam underestimated him and that he will play with the boy, unaware the young man already has the sword. With it in hand, the men's heads fly off before they can react. Asushi watches it without reacting. Onlookers freeze in shock, and the man realizes he cannot escape. Liam is clearly much stronger than before. Even his smile unnerves the man. Kneeling before the sushi, the boy says it's been a long time since he last saw his master, and the sushi feels cold. He straightens up and tells Liam he is very happy to see the boy doing what. The boy says he trains every day and constantly thinks about his master, and Asushi says Liam has clearly improved his technique a lot. The boy is thrilled and thanks his master. The MC asks why the man is there and why he is not carrying his sword. The man pauses for a few moments to think about his answer. Then Asushi says he is in the middle of a journey, and Liam says he knows he should not worry about his master, but believes it is dangerous for him to be unarmed. In truth, the man sold his sword when he ran out of money, but he tells Liam he travels with only his clothes. He can't admit he's out of money or looking for a job. When Asushi says he's looking for new disciples, Liam quickly gets excited. He says he will open a martial arts school in his territory so his master can train the next generation. The man refuses the offer, which offends Liam. Asushi refuses to return to that territory because it would endanger his life, but he lies, saying he is looking for someone who can truly master his technique, not just any student. Liam asks whether perfection has already been reached, and the man answers that it has not. Asushi says the warrior's path has no end. Liam believes he understands the man's words and offers to help his master in his service. Still, Asushi refuses help and says he must follow that path alone. A master of that technique must practice with at least 3 disciples, and Liam is confused that this is a duty. Asushi says Liam was his first disciple, so he is waiting for 2 more, and the boy must train 3 disciples himself. Each person's path with the technique is their own, including Liam's. They may meet someday, but not today. The universe is vast, so if they stop looking for possibilities, the technique will stagnate. Liam realizes he is only a beginner while his master has come a long way. Asushi explains this burden is not his alone. The MC must pass it on too. He must entrust the technique to his 3 closest people so they can train and guide his disciples as part of his training. Liam doubts whether he can really do this. Asushi places his hand on the boy's shoulder and tells him he has grown a lot and can handle it. Visibly excited, the MC says he'll do his best. Liam watches his master and says that, as his disciple, he cannot let him travel empty-handed, so he will arrange funds for the man to have a better. On the journey, Asushi is deeply moved inside, but stays composed on the outside and offers thanks. Asushi notices the young man transferred a very large amount to the boy, and Liam says it's okay because he is financially stable. Then security guards approach and say the boy is bothering the community. Liam tells Asushi to leave because he'll handle the situation. The man thanks him and leaves, and the MC excitedly says goodbye to his math. The boy ends up in some kind of prison, thinks about the 3 disciples who can't be random people, and needs to follow his master's exam. A man approaches, saying Liam talks to himself too much. He was surprised when he learned a killer was nearby. Liam says sorry to the ma. He draws a slow, steady breath. The boy got lucky by eliminating members of a gang that was already wanted, and he thinks Liam must have his own motives. He will then personally deliver Viscount Razzle's message, ordering him to lock Liam in a cell for a while to cool off. Understanding this, the boy lies down to relax and says that is what he will do. Angry, a man says Liam ruined his plans, and they cannot let the boy get away with it, and he asks whether they will let him get away alive just because he is bourgeois. The leader warns that any attack on the MC will ruin their reputation. Killing the boy is easy. The hard part is what comes after. Start by looking for information about the boy if that's the case. Their VIP casino also hosts an aristocrat, the heir of House PTAC, who is far richer than they are and might have useful information. The chief says that's great, and they should approach this person as well. Our aim is to find anything about Liam to make him. At Viscount Razor's house, maintaining balance is key when managing territory, and the pirate space is a clear example. First, they assess the reliability of people around the territories, including their own. Most of the time it is easy to keep them from getting close. Pirate spaces are the product of the nobility's own foolishness. A girl asks how to normally deal with pirates. Randolph says that is a good question, and that when it comes to pirates, he annihilates them all without mercy. Still, some are better left alive than dead. Ultimately, they are crucial tools for keeping control of the territory. Liam asks whether the noble's duty includes protecting both the territory and the people who live there, and the man agrees. He explains that sometimes he has to get his hands dirty. Values matter, but that world is not as virtuous as it seems. Everyone watching the lesson goes quiet for a moment. An administrator's main task is to keep everything under control, and that may be the most efficient way to do it. Peter agrees and says his house does that sometimes. Surprised at first, Randolph grows excited and says this is unexpected, but that's why the two houses will likely have a prosperous business and relationship. After that, the man goes back to the main topic, even if you don't like the. In areas controlled by pirates, it's important to work with them. That's the correct way to manage a territory. Casinos exist. Slumped in a chair, Peter grumbles that he is losing a lot of money. A man approaches and calls for the boy, saying the boy is wasting a lot of time and money and should return to his duty. When the boy asks to call the Viscount, the man warns it could tarnish his reputation, and Peter grows uncomfortable and falls silent. Then the man asks if the young man will give them information in a. They agree to the exchange, and Peter asks what they need. The man says they need information on the Banfield family, holds up a photo of Liam, and Peter says he doesn't know the boy. Having heard the boy is in the Razel house, the man asks if Peter really does not know him, and the young man confirms he does not. The Razel mansion houses many people, so if that boy doesn't get the same treatment, he's probably low nobility. States that if Peter provides more details, he will get special treatment. Excitement builds in the boy at the possibility. He then says he'll get the information. They will get what they want. Next, he will receive the treatment he deserves. The smiling man says they are counting on the bull. 2 years have passed since the nobles went to the Razor House to train body and mind, and sometimes they need a break, so everyone there must spend that day doing independent training. At that moment, they'll have a little fun, everyone. People gather to eat and drink while listening to live music. Liam realizes he thought they'd find beautiful women, but this is nothing like he imagined. Kurt notices there are girls with them. The MC admits that's true, but it's Ella's choice to be with them all the. At mealtime, the group eats a piece of barbecue. Liam says it tastes very good. Then he asks the girl in charge of the food to bring another. Ella asks what they enjoy. Liam asks whether anyone knows any fun places in the city, and Kurt says he doesn't. Points out that eating, drinking, and having fun are very important. These are the 3 foundations of human desires. Kurt agrees that all of this is true. Liam realizes his past life mistake was putting family above everything. Now he welcomes worldly desires and insists the nobility must build places where people can satisfy them. Liam plans to do this with his team and make sure everything goes as intended. Impressed by what she sees and hears, the attendant takes it in. They apparently want to speed things up a bit, even though they are still young. You cannot live that life while being overly modest, so it is important to look around sometimes. People should not hide their desires, and while they are young, they should enjoy life. The girl begins to laugh, Liam's. He tells her he likes her, and because he's in a good mood, he leaves a tip for the madam. She suddenly becomes serious. She says it's not necessary, and he should just order something. Liam agrees and asks her to bring him more barbecue. Thanks, everyone is happy, Kurt. Feeling downcast, he has just realized he is quite needy. Kurt probably just thought for the first time that people's desires can turn into problems. A sudden curiosity hits the MC. He doubts Kurt's experience. Liam says the boy is a noble, so he can have anyone he wants. Kurt asks what he means. He shouts that he will have a wife one day, and Liam says that does not mean he will be faithful. Even so, Kurt says he plans to be, and asks whether Liam does too. The MC points out the boy is that kind of person. That question confuses Kurt. When asked if Liam has experience with girls, the boy says it's obvious and then becomes thoughtful. Only a Maggie stood by his side, and she wasn't exactly a living woman. That might explain his lack of experience. Kurt says they are a Lee. He says the conversation is getting very strange and that Liam is a very serious boy, and the main character complains that Liam is not serious at all. After that, he understands what is happening. Standing, he tells the group to go have some fun. Kurt feels uneasy at first, and Liam says it's okay to enjoy a little. Keeping quiet means no one will know, so he can remain faithful. He says he'll stop being faithful because of that situation. Liam says that if they go together, there will be no problem. Ella suggests they take a moment to think about that. William asks what's happening and says she was the one who suggested they have some fun. A smile crosses her face, then she says she's worried about their F. The main character wonders if she thinks they will be scared. Ella then says they will explode. They can apparently catch a minor illness and then explode a few months later, with no chance of recovery. You must take an elixir to return to normal. Also, a girl who catches it can be asymptomatic and may not know she caught it. Liam realizes they need to go home that night. He has said both should be grateful that he warned him about him. Liam and Kurt sit on a bench. The boy realizes he doesn't really care about the party, but he dislikes the performance he has to take part in. Kurt points out this is a high society debutante ball, and Ella says there's nothing to be done about it. People are also talking about Peter's marriage to Katerina, and that should relieve everyone, while the Viscount will be pleased if the students he summoned win. Kurt asks whether she assumes the Viscount has no idea what will happen. Ella replies he might not, and adds they could be acting on their own. Liam realizes he thought he understood arranged marriages, but the Viscount might be so innocent he cannot even trust his own possessions. As expected, nothing good will come from rules like that. Liam notes it will cause him problems if he ends up in that situation. Kurt says he feels the same, but he asked to confront Peter so he wouldn't feel guilty. Both studied at the same academy, but Peter seems to have bought his life. Liam can't believe this is real, Ella says. He's taking this too seriously. Schools usually sell licenses to prominent people, and that gives them great publicity. Kurt says he and his father earned the license legitimately through their skills, but only after his father became a lawyer. The exam fee is huge, so even capable people need a lot of money, and Liam thinks it's all a scam. This lets him admire his master even more, a man who asked for nothing in return. Liam is proud of what he has learned. Peter walks up and greets the group, calling them common poor people. Katarina says she feels sorry for them when Peter calls them that. Liam asks what the boy needs to resolve with them. Peter says he was planning to do them a favor. He plans to invite everyone to his favorite casino. Liam says he is not interested. Ella says she has no money to spend on that. Kurt also declines. Invitation Peter is outraged by that response. Saying those people should not even dare to refuse his invitation, he begins to draw his. He then says he's licensed at a school, and the group won't want to upset him. His blade gleams. It is not a shock sword, but a real sword. Kurt tells him to put it away. Katerina says Peter cannot start a fight there. The boy ignores her and says the group needs to be punished. Katerina is serious and tells him to stop. She pushes the boy Peter again. Collapsing to the ground, he hits his head on a collar. Pain hits him and Liam laughs while mocking him. Katerina asks if he is okay and says she will call a doctor. Watching from a distance, the man in the top hat wonders why he can feel Liam's gratitude even at that moment. He can no longer travel between worlds or do anything. He doubts whether he can still get his revenge now or must only watch. Some pirates try to grab Liam, but Go's men outnumber them. That is still not enough. Nothing is enough. An object hits the man wearing the top hat. He leaves the place while Randolph, in an important conversation, tells someone not to contact him unless it is urgent. The gang leader says he has a story he thinks the Viscount would like to hear. Randolph asks whether they intend to harm the Banfield family in their care and says this will not be possible. The man says they are honoring their side of the agreement. If the boy keeps doing this, they will be forced to contact their pirates. Randolph asks whether they are willing to risk their own reputation to save the pirates. Scoffing, the man says they are alive thanks to the Lord's kindness and assures that this will never happen. Randolph then asks how they will do it. The leader says they plan to attack Liam as he leaves the Viscount's territory, targeting the Banfield military network, a paper target. Randolph falls silent for a moment, then says he cannot help. Even so, it will be too late to return to the Banfield. A house to help should be enough. The leader says they also want to summon Peter for the fight since he offered his help. Randolph asks if Peter really did it, and the captain confirms. It seems Peter wants to settle a personal grudge, and even the Piddock house offered its ships to help. Then Randolph goes silent for a moment. A short time ago, Katerina told him about their feud, but he never imagined Peter hated Liam so much. Mobilizing an entire army serves no purpose, but he cannot avoid it. Randolph says it is fine as long as he stays out of it, and makes clear he dislikes the Piddock House's involvement, and that only the pirates should participate in this. The leader agrees and plans to ask the Paddock House to pose as pirates. The Banfield House is a problem for the Empire, and if they lose to a pirate attack, no one will truly investigate. Randolph asked the pirates not to leave any evidence, and the man agreed. Then the leader says they want to keep a good relationship with the account, and Randolph hangs up the call in silence, then continues selecting the guest list for this year's party. More merchants and weapons manufacturers are joining, and thanks to the Piddock House, this year's party will be much larger and more impressive. If they build a strong relationship with the arriving guests, the Razor House's future will be PR. Randolph is excited about it, the man. From the window, the person in the top hat watches everything, excited about how things are unfolding. It features pirates, the Paddock House, and the Razzle House. Together, the three forces should provide at least 10,000 battleships. On the other side, Liam has only a few hundred vassals, and a man laughs, convinced this is Liam's hour of death. Meanwhile, the dog's spirit watches everything as it flies through the woods. This year's party will host many important guests, so preparations must be meticulous. Liam is confused by that, and Curtin tells him that many guests from the PTAC house are coming, along with officials from the Razor House. The MC realizes why they are working so hard, notices something that draws his attention, and the boy wonders whether this is where they will fight. Kurt asks whether Liam will sit out. Liam replies that it would be a shame for a licensed player to lose to someone like him. Kurt says that after the fight and the party, everything will end. Liam tells him not to be so gloomy because afterward they go straight into primary school. After that, things will only get busier, and Kurt agrees. A man calls the boy's attention and says Kurt's family is calling, so the boy should go to the communication room as soon as possible. Kurt trails the man. Liam suddenly spots something that looks like a dog. He follows it, thinking the animal might be lost, and feeling responsible for getting it out of that dangerous area. The dog keeps running, and Liam chases it through the corridors. Then the animal disappears, and the main character wonders where it went. Overhearing Kurt talking to relatives who cannot pick him up because they are busy with pirates, Liam realizes the voice is his F. He asks his friends what is happening. Kurt worries the boy may have heard, but Liam says he was just looking for a dog and ended up here. Kurt says his family discovered the pirates are using their satellites as a base, and if this grows, it will be harder to exterminate them. Liam tells Kurt to call his father. He volunteers to join the fight against the pirates, but the boy thanks him and refuses because there are too many pirates. Liam admits the pirates are his main source of income. Kurt finds that information very confusing. Liam says this will let them make a pile of money. Then he asks if the boy is satisfied, and the MC says the deal is done when it's over. They'll go together to the boy's house and then fight the pirates. Kurt says Liam can't decide everything like that. Usually you need to contact his family to decide these matters. Everyone must return to their territory after studying there, and Liam's people are probably preparing a party for his return. Kurt does not want to create more problems for the boy's home. The MC smiles, asks if the man is really worried, and then reassures him that everything is really fine. All matters in his territory depend on him alone, and his word is final. If he says it is black, it is black. No one can deny it. Liam gets excited, calls his friend, and gives him a fist bump. He then says hunting pirates is great fun. Behind the wall, Ella listens to everything with a smile. The pirate hunting duo is very impressive. Noting that it's important to keep an eye on those two, she decides to follow them because there will be no second chance. Liam meets up with Ella. He felt something was off but never thought it would be her. She says she came to call them because they'll be in trouble if they don't return to work soon. Liam asks whether Ella saw a dog nearby, and Ella says no. Kurt says he feels watched too, but it might just be his imagination. Everyone wonders whether a spirit could be watching them. The coach arrives, cursing and telling them they must return to work immediately. Ella then asks Liam to speak with her for a moment because she heard from Kurt and wants to confirm that after everything the boy is really going to the other territory. Liam confirms, and Ella asks to join him. The MC goes quiet for a moment, clearly puzzled by the girl's excitement. The girl says she has too much to handle. Liam asks if she has feelings for Kurt, but says the final choice rests with his friend. The girl says she understands. Liam says he'll talk to Kurt later, and Ella asks him to meet her at her ship when it's time to leave. Liam thinks she will be waiting for him and that they should work together, and when they started, he never imagined how everything would turn out. In the end, he will be alone again, thanks to Liam's help. They probably will not stay in touch during elementary school. Kurt is determined to repay Liam's favor. The boy kept appearing. They are behind him. The MC asks if they are really going to Kurt's house and says that Ella wants to go with them. The boy says he doesn't mind, but is unsure if his house can provide an adequate reception for the two. Liam tells Kurt not to worry and says that if Kurt does not want to host her, he can send her to Liam's house. What suggests this is probably the best choice. Liam says he'll take care of it. Meanwhile, at the Banfield house, Brian is reflective as he talks on the phone with Selena, a woman he has not spoken to in a long time. She returns his greeting and says that after all this time, he seems to be getting old. In his part, Ryan says Selena hasn't changed much, and she asks which time he means. She says she retired long ago and passed her duties to her granddaughter. Brian says he envies her for that. Selena believes he would be better off also taking time to rest rather than serving the Lord. Brian says he chose to live and die serving the Banfield house. Selena replies that she understands. Putting that aside, she asks whether everything has ended there and adds that she heard about the Lord. Brian wants to talk about Lord Liam, who is currently being educated by the noble house, but he cannot accept the treatment he is receiving and believes Selena knows something about it, and the woman asked Brian which house Liam is in. A man says he is in the Razel house, which still has a strong reputation. Inhaling deeply, the woman then. She says Brian should have called earlier so she could have recommended a proper noble house. Before training ends, a sword fight is held for entertainment. Only a few selected people will be invited, and they will be the winners of the battle. Kurt is nervous on one side, while Peter on the other complains that the boy's defensive style is boring. Advancing on Kurt, he tells the boy he should understand their skill levels are very different, and Liam watches from afar, appalled that Kurt is being made to lose to those awful moves. She notices the person who gave Pedro his license wasn't careful, because the boy clearly doesn't even know how to use a sword. Kurt drops his sword to the ground, kneels, and says he surrenders, so Peter is the winner. The boy shows off while thanking the audience. Stepping on Kurt's head, he tells him he is disappointed and says Kurt does not understand how skilled he is. A moment later, Peter tells him to rethink his actions from now on and says he has a great idea. Pointing at Liam, he says he will fight the boy next. Mocking the main character's fighting style, he says the boy has no excuses. Apparently Peter just challenged him to a battle. Walking up to Liam, the trainer says if the boy goes, he will save them from trouble. The MC asks if it's okay for him to fight for real, and the trainer says there's no point in stopping Liam because he will do what he wants. They just need to finish it quickly, and he opposes that farce. The main thing is that Liam doesn't kill. The boy Liam says he never holds back in battle and will do his best, and the trainer is shocked by what the MC chose to fight with. It's a toy hammer, and that's pretty disrespectful for A. In the battle, Liam warns that using anything else will kill Peter, and Peter laughs at the MC, mocking Liam for being so poor he cannot even buy decent web. Facing his opponent, the MC stands while Kurt and Ella watch nervously, and the fight is signaled to begin. Liam knocks Peter down instantly. Randolph stands speechless. Peter lies sprawled on the ground, defeated. The audience is confused about how a single blow left Peter motionless. Angry, Randolph shouts for them to take Peter to the infirmary at once, and Kurt and Ella stare in disbelief. Liam is announced as the winner, and the boy mocks. People in the audience complain that he clearly cheated, and Liam, indignant, tells anyone with a complaint to come down to the ring and say it to him. Smiling, the MC says he can take them all at once. People swarm into the ring, angry at Liam, while Randolph stands in shock at everything happening, and Liam raises his hammer to mock them. He hits everyone who approaches. The group is sent flying and crashes against the wall. Everyone is defeated. At the top, a young man's father asks the Viscount what is happening. Randolph notes this should not be happening, and everything is in ruins at that moment. Liam taunts the defeated, telling them not to consider themselves superior just because they won a few fights. While preparing for the party, the trainer notes that if Randolph bans one of his students from the celebration, it would bring shame on Razor House. Randolph points out that the little brat not only caused them trouble, but also offended the other students' guardians, so he cannot be left unpunished. Liam doesn't belong at that celebration. He also doesn't want to risk his daughter's engagement. Peter thinks a nobody like Liam shouldn't even be at a party like that. They are set on dealing with Liam as soon as the party ends, and Peter spots something that catches his eye and asks what the bonsai is. Randolph says it's a gift from the PTAC house, and he decided to display it on that occasion. Peter laughs and says it's impossible, because if he sent a gift like that, people would doubt his judgment. Randolph falls silent and says that if it was a mistake and not a gift from the PTAC house, he wants to get rid of it. Next, he asks the coach to throw it away with him. Holding a bonsai in his lap, the coach apologizes to Liam and says Lord Randolph refused to listen. Liam notes that Viscount Razel apparently puts his vassals at a disadvantage. He looks confused by that. The MC explains that if he goes to the Banfield house, he'll be warmly welcomed. The man stays silent for a moment. Laughing heartily, he says he will stay because he owes Lord Randolph. Liam notes that this is sad. Unfortunately, loyal knights like him tend to remain faithful to their lord until the end. To make up for all the problems, he bought drinks and food, and Liam Mock said he was very happy. Even so, the MC should leave that place after finishing, because Liam says his ride is almost there, so they should not linger. Then he asks what the man plans to do with the bond. Believing it is valuable, he doubts Lord Randolph wants him to throw it away and has no idea what to do. Liam asks whether he can keep the bonsai. The man agrees, saying it's good that he will get rid of the problem. Then the two say goodbye. Liam looks at the small tree and remembers Brian. Apparently Randolph can't tell how much that item is worth. The boy is angry and someone calls him. Kurt and Ella are carrying backpacks. The MC says the party isn't over yet and they shouldn't be there. They heard Liam had been kicked out and decided to follow him. Ella says they want to leave as soon as possible. Liam smiles and says it is almost time for a ship to pick them up, and the trio stands together, happy. Meanwhile, at the Viscount Razel spaceport, Christiana wants to be more generous with the decor. They should include more holograms. They also need to cover everything in gold plastic, and a staff member tells her not to touch the decorations without permission. Christiana says it's been a long time since she saw Liam, and the preparations must be perfect, no matter the cost. The staff member tells her to do it when she returns to her world. Still, the ship they used to get there is very impressive. Christiana points out it's their battleship, and the man says that's to be expected from the PTAC house. The warrior pauses for a moment. The man says this is very different from the disgraced head of Banfield House. Without warning, she grabs the man by the collar and presses a sword into his mouth. Ms. Jaina says it is absurd to associate the Banfield House's glory with another house and asks if they intend to insult her. All staff are retracting their statement and say they did not mean it. Still, the girl holds her sword firmly. Someone suddenly calls her. She throws the staff member away. When she picks up, Liam is on the line. The main character wonders why they haven't come to pick him up yet. Liam is angry while Christiana tries to explain herself. After hanging up, he takes a deep breath and Kurt asks if something is bothering him. His fleet was sent elsewhere, so they will take some time to arrive. Merchant Thomas runs up to Lord Liam. The boy says it's been a while since they last saw each other, and Thomas says he looked for him at the party, but was surprised to learn the boy had been kicked out. Liam says the Viscount clearly dislikes him, and Liam feels the same. Thomas agrees, and two others arrive. Niece Carlin is excited and asks Thomas to buy her a new fleet. Ulyssia Morrisil is there too, commenting on their plan to build the boy's next ship. If the boy goes with her, she can go over the details with him. Liam refuses, telling her to do as she likes. Nia's Carlin mocks. Then she says Elijah Morrisil's seduction technique won't work. All the while, onlookers watch her in silence. Ulyssia Murizel says everyone can see her revealing top. Nia Carlin complains that since her salary was cut, she can't afford better clothes. Ella is worried about Nia's Carlin's salary. The woman says she is struggling and may even lose her house. Liam asks how much she needs. What price does she want for the fortress? The girl, excited, asks if he will buy it. Nia's Carlin gets excited and says he should buy other things too, but Liam insists he will buy 300 items. Ulija Morrisil wonders how the boy can make that decision so quickly. She puts the third weapon factory up for sale, but Liam refuses. Nia's Carlin notes that her relationship with Liam is much F. Now older, she and Ulyssia Morrisil try to talk when someone comes running, and Liam says they have finally arrived. Christiana bows to the boy and apologizes for being late. She complains they were directed to another area. Liam flicks her on the head and she says it hurts. The MC tells her not to make excuses for keeping him waiting. Her eyes widen, then she draws her sword. She presses the weapon to her neck and says she offers her head in apology. Liam pushes the girl away and asks if she is stupid. She needs to hurry so he can get home sooner, and they shouldn't leave the bonsai behind. Christiana asks if the boy will forgive them. Liam says he can't forgive them that quickly, he is not ready yet. Claims that once they get home, he will force her to work until she dies. Christiana pauses briefly, then agrees eagerly, and Liam asks where her ship is so he can board. She tells him it has just arrived. The huge ship stops in front of them all. Inside, Kurt has brought a cup of tea. He thanks her and looks impressed. Liam asks what is wrong, and the boy says he couldn't imagine what it was like inside that ship, while the MC asks why Kurt doesn't buy one of those for himself. The boy says that would be impossible because they not only don't have permission, but it's all. They are also very expensive and have high maintenance costs, so they can only afford low-cost, practical equipment, and Liam notes he has plenty of that equipment. Earlier, he had impulsively made another deal with Nese Carlin and can't expect Amagi to hide everything forever, so the boy tells Kurt he has an idea and will give him some of his equipment. Kurt objects to accepting it as a gift. Liam says letting the boy take some of his equipment would help him a lot. Kurt agrees to accept if that's the case, since more ships will be a big help and any maintenance won't be a problem. Liam is pleased with the response, though his ships are actually quite new, and then asked Kurt how large the pirate fleet at House Exner is. Christiana reports they spotted 3,000 enemy ships, but the main worry is that those ships are in a stronghold, and Liam is pleased, saying that means there must be many treasures there. Kurt tries to speak to the boy, but the MC says he'll make sure House Exner gets 30% of the profit. Kurt says that's not what's worrying him and asks whether Liam isn't nervous. The MC says he isn't, and that pirates are his main source of income. They gave them everything they have, and wiping them all out will be no problem. Excited, Christiana steps forward and tells Liam to leave that fight to his van. The boy tells the girl not to be so bold and to leave the final decision to him. The girl bows and apologizes for her sin. She then answers a call. Reports confirm about 20,000 enemies, and Christiana asks whether they are pirates. The person tells her yes, but some are nobles and act disdainfully. Liam's soldiers, guys, prepare for battle. Kurt wonders why pirates are in that sector since they just left Razel's territory, but Liam is unconcerned and says they just need to defeat them. This map shows their current condition. It appears they are attempting something. To trap them, Kurt studies the numbers and sees that Liam's fleet has only 300 vassals, while the enemies have 20,000. Liam asks Christiana where their main forces are located. 15,000 central forces have just arrived and are now lined up against the opposition. Seeing the enemies, the MC excitedly tells them to start the attack. Explosions erupt and gunfire hits the enemy. Kurt, aboard the ships, is impressed by how quickly enemy numbers are dropping as 3,000 enemies close in on them. Kurt panics when the number is far larger than theirs, but Liam tells the young man not to be sent. The boy sits down and tells everyone to get ready for battle. Christiana is very excited. She raises her sword and shouts to annihilate Lord Liam's enemies. Kurt is worried and says this is very dangerous. The MC says their army is much better prepared than the enemy, so the difference in numbers isn't a big deal. They have the most advanced equipment and the best ships, and rigorous training makes their soldiers elite. Liam doesn't remember ever losing a battle because of the enemy's size, so there is no chance he will lose again. After all, his guide is right beside him. The man in the top hat is indignant, wonders if Liam will ever stop believing in him, questions why Liam is accompanied by so many soldiers, and concludes that such a number is very illogical. The plan is falling apart, especially since he used his last power to try to make it work. Attacks on the pirates continue. The pirate chief is furious to have learned that Liam's army was easy to defeat. Apparently they are armed to the teeth. It doesn't make sense that the Banfield house could carry a ship like that. The pirates' attacks do no damage to Liam. One of his subordinates calls for the captain, a pair of. Reports say the PTAC house fleet is being completely destroyed. Some of them have even been retrieved. Indignant, the pirate complains that nobles lack courage and says the PTAC house should be equipped with the best ships. The captain orders a retreat. They must get out of that mess no matter what. Whatever happens, the goal is to survive even if it means sacrificing some of their own. The update is that the enemies have stopped firing and are starting to flee, and Liam is outraged that they want to. Kurt notes Liam's fleet is impressive and far more advanced than most noble armies. Liam says he already said everything would be fine. Christiana says they discovered which nobles sided with the pirates and that they are from the PTAC house. Kurt is outraged because that is Peter's house. They also received a transmission from their ship. The message was intended for Liam. You can see one of the PTAC house ships announcing their surrender. Kurt points out that keeping the feud between the houses is too difficult, so if they surrender, Liam has no choice. The main character thinks differently. Liam says that to him. They do not appear to be affiliated with the PTAC house. That house is virtuous and noble and would not ally with pirates, so those people are just pirates pretending otherwise. They're nobles, so there's no reason to accept their surah. Christiana is thrilled. They are about to launch the attack on the pirates. Liam suggests letting a few go to find where their hideout is. Kurt warns those enemies are powerful families and questions the plan, and Liam says it's okay. Now they are heading into the young man's territory. Kurt is stunned. The MC says he's going to his room to rest a little. The young man says he will stay and watch. Liam leaves. Christiana says this is the best way to introduce Lord Liam to Kurt. The young man remembers the MC, saying that everything he said was low. It turned out he wasn't joking. Kurt says that if he were in the young man's place, he'd simply leave the PTAC house intact. No wonder Liam is so strong because he faces his battles head-on. Niaz Carlin says this place does not seem very safe. Eulogia Morisel also strengthens those texts. The seventh factory favors performance at the expense of balance. Niaz Carlin says they are not a factory that keeps cutting costs. She explains that's probably why Liam left them. Elijah Morisile is indignant and criticizes Niaz Carlin's stance, and the other girl is Ella. Ella asked Niaz Carlin what kind of girl Liam likes, which shows she is quite curious. Ella seems very curious about this. Ulyssia Morisil asks whether starting a relationship with Liam would be difficult given their family statuses. Ella says her goal is not to get involved with the family. About the guy, Ulyssia Morisil says she understands, but it makes no difference whether they mean Liam or Kirk. Ella seems interested in one of the two. Ella says she doesn't dream of marrying either, because she is focused on supporting her family. The two saleswomen look at each other and then ask whether the girl is serious. Randolph asks what that means. It looks like the records for the PTAC house and the Banfield house have been swapped. He shouts for the pirates to retreat immediately, and an employee enters to speak with Randolph. We received word that the pirates have been defeated, the PTAC house has fallen, and they have asked for help because they cannot send reinforcements. Randolph says reinforcements cannot be sent and must be withdrawn immediately, and the employee says they formed an alliance for the engagement and cannot back out. Randolph starts to feel nervous about the whole situation. Randolph's daughter Katerina suddenly calls to tell him she is at the PTOC house, but everything is very different from what was expected, and they are even demanding that. Razel House is paying some of its debts. She tried to contact Peter's parents in the capital, but they shut her out. There is more to it. Peter reportedly caught the disease that causes people to explode. Randolph goes silent and stops responding. Suddenly, collapsing to the ground, he is stunned and unsure how it happened. At last it's over, the Razel House is. Elsewhere in the Exner's territory, Kurt's father apologizes for the trouble caused by Liam taking not only his son, but also his fleet into the territory. Liam says it's not a problem, and he is also bringing supplies from his own territory. The man says he's very grateful, but Liam reassures him not to worry. Liam remembers those pirates had 3,000 ships, but they joined forces with others and grew by a few hundred ships, and he says that won't be a big problem. Those hundreds were probably the ones he himself let slip away, and the MC says he shouldn't worry and everything will be fine. Kurt's father talks to his son and asks him to sit down and learn from Liam how to do it. They say goodbye, and Liam tells Christiana that they will move forward. The boy climbs into his massive war robot. Niaz Carlin kept it in excellent condition. It shows the boy asking if Christiana is doing well aboard her ship. A girl stands beside a war robot and says the unit is wonderful. Christiana says she trained a lot and learned the theory in the education capsule as Elijah Morisile approaches, worried. Down there the woman worries Christiana is not fully recovered for this, but the warrior says it does not matter, and because Liam asked, she must follow. Also, the Lord ordered the robot to be built just for her, so she needs to make it count. 2 robots and the others fly toward the Pyro's location. Its nest is a fortress far larger than they expected. Many objects and energy have been detected there and are approaching at high speed. Liam is impressed to see that the enemies are launching various rocks from there. Liam finds the attack interesting, but useless once again. Under attack, Liam quickly cuts every rock in his path. He notices his body getting sluggish and knows he needs more training after spending too much time anxious at the Razel House. The attacks prolong the war. Machines will destroy all enemy fragments and protect. They seem fine, and Christiana and the others are doing very well. Their preparations to infiltrate the fortress interior are complete. Liam asks if they can go in and is told they will destroy some enemy weapons and send troops. Liam says he wants to look inside, and his army tries to communicate with him, but the boy is determined to invade. He thinks he should be the first to step inside that F. He plans to invade the fortress with his own robot. The pirate captain was attacked several times from behind. This punishment is for bringing the bounty hunter to them. Entering the room in despair, he says he has bad news because the enemy has started. They attacked, several explosions occurred. Liam's group has the advantage. Massive robots start attacking the pirates' units. The pirates become de. Christiana is thrilled that she's getting revenge. Hearing pirates beg makes her enjoy annihilating them even more. Several of them attempt to attack her from behind. They don't stand a chance. Before they can say a word, they are cut in half. Christiana is extremely powerful and destroys them all, yet she realizes that even though she is doing very well, she is still far from reaching Liam's low. Meanwhile, the MC and others in his fleet invite. Liam asks if Christiana will join, and the girl replies she will take care of the remaining pirates who are bothering them. Liam says he understands. Pirates approach and shout that they will not be able to get in. Still, Liam knows those pirates stand no chance against him. He easily uses his machine's power. This creates an unnatural barrier that attacks the pirates. His power is so strong it crushes there. The robots end up shattered on the ground. Liam's barrier is far larger and stronger. Once the MC secures the area, his soldiers move in. They watch the entrance and decide to go in shortly as well. Soldiers follow him while the boy watches. The door opens and leads to a place that looks like a dock. Suddenly, pirate robots attack and say that with such a large machine, Liam won't be able to move. Around much, the MC notes he could handle that easily. But he wanted to see Christiana's abilities right away. Advancing, she uses rapid sword strikes to utterly destroy the enemy. They then use their weapons to eliminate the remaining pirates. They still finished everything, even though the pirates used custom. Christiana notes that their military is customized and uses units modeled on the Imperial Army. The girl steps forward and says she's very sorry for being his N. Every pirate unit present is destroyed instantly. Excited to take down every enemy, Liam shouts to annihilate each one. The hidden pirate chief is sweating heavily. Liam's military is extremely powerful. Subordinates enter the room and report that enemy forces are entering the command center. Laughing, the pirate chief says Liam's group is clearly the best. Wearing a badge around his neck, he tall. Things go off the chain, and he shoves what looks like a command plate into a computer, saying they will do whatever it takes. He seeks to destroy Liam's entire fleet and reduce that fortress to a massive explosion. Suddenly, someone contacts Liam and asks whether the boy can hear him. Then he says he has activated the self-destruct of the entire fortress. The Imperial Army abandoned that place decades ago and rebuilt it to suit their needs. As you would expect from an Imperial Army installation, the fortress has some pretty scary. Liam asks if that's all they want to say. The MC calls the man a coward and says if this is his only option, he should go ahead. The pirate chief starts talking about the fortress. The pirate chief shouts that it's useless and that it will mean the end for everyone. Communication with them begins to break down. Liam says he will not die there, but the pirates will, and he contacts Nies Carlin. Knowing the system, she asks the boy to wait a moment because the transports are closing and the combat units have asked to leave, so it will have to wait. Stay calm, Nies Carlin tells Liam she has sent the necessary information. The bomb mimics a dying star, so it's dangerous, but with the equipment Liam has on hand, he can destroy it. The MC notes that Nies Carlin is very useful. Seeing how much she helps him when he needs it, he decides it's time to end this. Liam opens a kind of portal in front of this. Then it's time to use the coordinates and head to the required location. They start. We're waiting for the autopilot's responses, and Liam holds a huge bazooka in his. With the gigantic object in his hands, he activates it and aims it at the portal. Only his enemy will explode. Liam fires through the portal. The impact hits the enemy foe. The target is destroyed, just as expected from Liam. That was amazing, but also disappointing. With everyone safe, it's time for them to go treasure hunting. Liam and his team invade the place looking for wreckage and treasures, and one of his soldiers asks to speak briefly with the He says they still haven't finished eliminating the remaining enemies, so it's too dangerous to hunt for treasure, and Liam says searching empty places for treasure is boring, and he enjoys stealing from those pirates. Liam presses on despite his soldiers' reluctance. They keep pacing back and forth, the young man began. He grows indignant that he still hasn't found any treasure, but his soldiers say they found something, just a few banknotes. Still, Liam insists it's not enough, and one of his subordinates uncovers a hidden past. Opening the door, they step inside and find something like a sculpture standing in the center of the hall. Liam wonders what it could be. They look like people turned to stone. Liam moves toward a massive sculpture while his soldiers tell him to be careful. The boy lines in and sees the human face. He senses people coming from the statue. The soldiers notice those pirates have a strange taste for doing that. Dad Liam asked them to look for something related to the statue. Later, the group arrives at the ex-nerd's house. Kurt thanks Liam for his help and work and says he would love to say the boy can finally. Meanwhile, his family is converting the former administrator's mansion and hopes Liam will like it. The boy notices how vast the place is. Ella says the space feels roomy and she has no complaints. Liam finally understands what is. As things continue, he notices Kurt's family is saving well and acting correctly. The maids appear to say that the bathroom is red. They tell Liam to go first to help him relax. Liam feels nervous at first and asks Kurt to go first. Finally, they decide to rest together. Ella enjoys being alone and begins tinkering with her devices. A small drone flies overhead. Through the camera, she watches Kurt and Liam together. She is relieved that the two were so close. She knew it would be fine as long as she was next to them from the. At the beginning, she watched them sleep and eat. They kept eating until it was time to say goodbye. Kurt says goodbye to Liam feeling nostalgic. Ella feels emotional about everything they go through. After Liam returned home, Brian complained that it had been 3 months since Liam left the Razel household, but that was no reason to give up on his celebration party. The man is depressed. Liam thinks a party is unnecessary. Brian can simply tell the public that he's back, the bup. He agrees, impressed that Liam returned with his bonsai. The boy says the Razel household cannot see the value of things. Ryan falls silent for a moment, then asks what Liam actually learned during his studies, and Liam says he didn't learn anything of real value. Still, he learned many things he shouldn't have. If not for Kurt and Ella, those 3 years would have been terrible. Brian says he understands and is relieved that Liam hasn't changed, since he had been very worried about the Razel family's past and what might happen to Liam, but the boy seems to be doing very well. All day, the MC works at his desk. Finally, Amagi says that's all the work he needs to do for now. The boy grumbles. Liam realizes he took longer than usual and says he needs to train before enrolling in the academy. Amagi says he should spend a year in the education capsule before enrolling. The MC finds the Razel households training poor and wonders how they became so popular. Liam gets an idea and asks Amagi to start taking students in his territory, but she says he doesn't have the money or the fame to succeed. Liam says he will begin with the nobles from the surrounding territories in that case. His maid then says she heard Liam spend another large sum on weapons. She points out that spending on very expensive military equipment could limit other plans. Liam says giving some equipment to someone else won't be a problem. Amagi says that's not how it works and that it could make everything work. Then the boy asks whether they could rent the equipment so they would have the money. Amagi notes this should be enough, but the boy should be more careful next time. Liam's statue looks like it was made from petrified people, and those people seem to have received some kind of blessing. Surprised, Liam cannot believe they have any blessing because their faces show only despair. That seems like the kind of blessing that keeps people sane. Staying sane after being petrified takes careful preparation. Thinking about this after being petrified must feel awful. Liam asks what those people did to deserve this. Amagi says there is no way to know without asking them directly. Liam says he experienced hell in a past life and has no problem helping people once. If anyone dares to turn against him, he can destroy them, so the boy asks Amagi to help them. The girl agrees to do as he asks. Liam looks tired. The maid then asks why he doesn't take a break. The young man suggests they go for a swim to relax. Amagi joins the boy in the pool, and the boy says it's great. Then the MC complains that at the Razel house he couldn't rest or find a moment to relax. The maids kept pursuing him constantly. He can hardly believe he spent 3 years in that situation. By my count, Razel is not as good as he seems. Amagi is impressed. Liam says Randolph is a prime example of someone not to follow. He wants to be inspired by the enro family, which charges a 60% tax on the population, and their son Kurt is very impressive and has great potential. Amagi seems pleased that Liam made good friends. Liam stands up as the maid asks what is wrong. Soon after, the public debates the sudden tax increase to fund upgrades to the nearby satellites. Many are unsure what to make of those taxes, but in that sense, allowing pirates to invade would be far worse. It's much better to pay taxes and believe in armament. Amagi notices that Liam seems very excited. Seeing the population accept the taxes makes him happy, since they do not view the increase as a personal act by the boy, but as something meant for the population's benefit. Taken aback that Brian and Amagi did not oppose raising the tax, Liam found himself one step closer to becoming a cruel lord. The maid sees the investment in satellites and security is real, and after Liam left tax decisions to her, she talked with Brian and they set the priorities. Liam admits his goal, after all, was simply to watch people suffer, and Amagi says she's glad the boy is doing well. TV commercials advertise a new hairstyle called the tornado cut. It's an explosive way to express yourself, and Liam is shocked by it. He wonders what kind of popular haircut it is and whether people on his planet really wear it. Amagi says the mansion doesn't allow that haircut, so everything will be fine, but Liam points out it exists outside the mansion. Refusing to let the territory have that embarrassing haircut, the young man demands a written law to permanently ban that hairstyle. Amagi asks whether the public will turn against him if the boy acts that way. Brian steps forward and says he wants to introduce someone to Liam. Serena steps into the room and introduces her. She introduces herself and says it's a pleasure to finally meet the young man. Brian says she's an old acquaintance and that they work together at the Imperial Palace. She is the ideal person if Liam wants to start receiving students there, and Liam says he is willing to make an effort to receive people in his territory and will wait for Serena's results. The woman thanks the boy for his trust. The MC notes she seems excellent, and thanks to Brian they found someone competent. A year passed and Serena introduced Liam to that year's students. All those selected thanked the boy for receiving that, except for, "Tell me who is in the back and who is OBS." A boy has an android by his side. Serena slaps him in the face, then tells the boy to be quiet for a moment. The boy complains that she is behaving arrogantly and wielding too much power. Liam approaches. The MC himself then punches him in the face. He tells the boy to leave, saying he doesn't need useless people there. All the other nearby students are astonished. Brian tells Liam that Serena fortunately handled the situation and kept the others from getting too agitated, but he still wants the house to be more peaceful. Brian then asks whether any girl in the group caught Liam's attention, and the young man says none of them did. The butler says they were all potential wives for him, but none appealed to him. Officially, everyone is there to pin labels, but many families bring their daughters hoping they will get married. Brian is concerned that Liam shows no interest in any of them. Liam says none of the girls catch his eye, and he won't force himself into anything. At the same time, Randolph feels hopeless. Merchants have all left his territory, and most of his key vassals have abandoned him. Confused, the man wonders how this happened and what he did wrong. Meanwhile, the man in the top hat takes on all the suffering and despair. He was disappointed in the two of them, but the problem they faced made them stronger. His rules prevent him from getting directly involved, but he will reveal everything to that fool who believes in him and let him taste despair. This time he will make sure Liam is dragged into the depths of hell. This is the end of the video. To avoid missing the next part, turn on the notification bell. Available on TOB's channel.